Had a little listen to his podcast, huh?
Dude, it's educational. And besides, I've been wanting to listen to this one.
Welcome to Idling in the Impala, a podcast by and for lovers of supernatural and the fanfiction it inspires. Before we begin, just want to remind you to like, subscribe, follow, etc. wherever you listen to us so you don't miss any episodes or bonus stuff that we do. I'm Karlee.
I'm Sandra, and today we are doing a Taking Authors to Task episode, and we're taking Karlee to task because
it's me.
Karlee has done many things that have created a lot of angst involving demonic junkies. And this has been a drama that has been occurring over the past, what are we talking, like maybe
January.
almost 6 months? Yeah. So
No. Oh, shit. 5 months. It's nearly June. When did that happen? I posted the first Junkies in January, this something.
So, I mean, I think we're going to just kind of like pick apart some different things about the story.
Sandra has a presentation.
Karlee's process.
A whole last presentation.
And I know they're very much like, tell me everything. And the way my comments brains work is kind of just like, as things occur, and then when I did the presentation, I was like, maybe it's best to highlight what a lot of other readers have been saying along the way too with the story that you created, which was, even though we're taking you to task, Karlee, this is a great piece of just fiction, and how you've gotten into the characters' minds, both Sam and Dean, which I applaud you for, because I am not one who, as we've discussed, feels comfortable with Sam, but you actually took the jump last year, I think, to really start to explore Dean. And I think that takes a lot of, I think, courage as a writer, because fanfiction is a different kind of writing, just in general.
Yeah.
Because we're already taking a character that's been somewhat established. One could argue that, the first person that wrote the fanfic after episode 1 of the Supernatural didn't have a lot to go off of. We're writing, at least I know you and I, we really started writing after there was a set framework that we could either choose to use or say, what if? And I mean, I think fan fiction's beautiful that way, and it gives a writer the freedom to do whatever they want. They could follow canon to the letter and just explore something, or they could go, well, this is what I'm getting out of this, and this is what I want to pursue. And really, or they just say, like, I see the surface level of this character. I see what they're giving these other characters and giving the audience, but I want to try to get inside their brain and figure out what's going on. And I think you did that in an incredible way in this story. So, I mean, the title of my presentation is, Demonic Junkies. It was just supposed to be some Wincest porn. And for someone who's not like, I dabble in Wincest, but it is not, like, it's not what I search for. And I really read your stuff because it's great writing, and it's,
oh, thank you.
It's great. It's great smut too, but it's great writing. So I guess my original question would be, what in the hell possessed you to come up with this story?
And you know what? Normally, for most of my stuff, I'd be like, oh, I had an idea, so I picked it. I could tell you exactly. I watched the episode My Bloody Valentine.
Okay.
In season 5 of Supernatural. And recap for anybody who doesn't remember that episode. that is the episode where the horseman Famine comes to town and makes people greedy for whatever, sex, food, all manner of things. So we have Castiel, who is an angel. His vessel is craving food, meat, so we just get to watch Misha eat for an episode.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Sam's addiction is demon blood. So we have this great scene in like this in the motel where Sam's like, it's kind of like just like rubbing a cold washcloth over his face, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like, I don't think I'm okay. I can't. The plan is they know where Famine is. They're gonna go and confront him or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I can't come with you. Like it's, I can feel it. It's starting again. It's not safe. So they chain Sam up in the bathroom and go. And there's all kinds of like meta stuff that goes on. But what I was focusing on was like Sam, especially before he gets chained up in the bathroom, and he's just like, he's sweaty and
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know, he just looks a little bit strung out.
Mm-hmm.
And then certainly when he's in the bathroom and the Famine sends demons to him, and he attacks them and drinks their blood, and it's a whole thing. But then like he's chained to the bathroom and he's sweaty and his hair is wet and you can see him struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I have a thing for Sam in pain. I don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's acting choices by Jared. I don't know. I just think it's hot. I don't know what it is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of that.
Okay.
And I was like, oh shit. Like I want to write something with Sam, like, really like sweaty and needy and wanting.
Mm-hmm.
And then I always thought it was strange that, I mean, the writers have probably changed that many times. Everyone had forgotten that Sam had a demon blood addiction. But I always thought it was weird that when Sam captured Demon Dean and brought him back, Dean didn't try and use that against him, because it would have been so easy, and he didn't. And I thought that was weird. And I just posted Taken, which was like my first Wincest, and I was like, no, fuck it, this is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I want sweaty, needy, desperate Sam, and Dean's gonna give him the blood, but he's gonna make him, it's not gonna be nice, he's gonna make him fuck him for it. And in my head, when I started this, and I had conversations with you, and I had conversations with my beta reader, Runaway Dreamer, who is the light of my fucking life. This series would not exist without her, I swear to God. She comes in and she's like, this is great, and I love you, but sort this out.
Mm-hmm.
No. And I was like, no, it's not really non-con, because like Sam knows. Like it looks like non-con. I'm tagging it as dub-con, but it's not. It's I can't write a rape scene. And then separately, both of you came to me after I posted the first one, and you were like, "This is rape.
Mm-hmm.
You need to change that."
Mm-hmm.
So my intent was that I was just gonna have this like Dean was gonna be like
You wanted a consensual, strung out Sam Demon Dean vibe scenario, like initially, like that was what you were like vibing on, like, I want this is necessary, I'm going to write this. Okay.
And then that's just not what happened.
It's interesting
the whole tagline of this whole that's just not what fucking happened.
It's interesting that you mentioned the Sam demon blood thing, because that's actually the one note that I made in Demonic Junkies in a Control Junkie, I think the first one. So, and I know we've had discussions ad nauseum about this. So I think what I'm going to do is, I know I'm pulling from things like in my brain. You know how you think you come up with something new and you're like, no, we've had this discussion. So we're just like, but I'm remembering parts of our discussion for Control Junkie. Let me see if I can click this to go over. Okay. So for Control Junkie, Sam finally tracked down Demon Dean. Now all he has to do is get him into the bunker, perform the curing ritual, and everything will be okay. Easier said than done when you're a former addict. I highlighted the line, Sam nearly drove into a wall when the copper and sulfur smell reached him. And then my note was, so not show canon. After season 5, there's not much mention or hardly any of Sam's demon blood addiction. Do you feel, and you just probably already answered this, do you feel like Sam was always wrestling, trying to stay clean and sober? Or do you feel the show's writers just kind of took the easy route in curing him of it, like, after he was pulled out of the cage and like, oh, he's fine, there's nothing happening? So do you feel like this is something he really was wrestling with, or was it like specific instances? Because the only thing I can think of that would be weird is that they ran into so many demons over and over and over and over again. And like, there's nothing in the show, that even hints at him being a little bit shaken up by it. It's just like another hunt or another thing. It's really only kind of like Lucifer's the main like trigger trauma area, I feel like, for Sam after season 5. So you obviously were like, this is just not something that's going to be swept away. See, I'm just thinking they used their whole get out of jail free card where like, somebody can just cure you or build you back up. So when he popped out of the cage, it was just like, well, that part's just, he doesn't have that anymore. Like, that's not a thing he has to worry about. He can worry about going insane and trauma that way, but not the demon blood. So that was something that did you kind of always have that in the back of your mind, or was it that particular scene that made you go, huh, he always probably was wrestling with this in your mind, in your Sam version for this.
In my Sam version of this, I think he probably did always wrestle with it, just because I'm kind of erring on the more realistic. So I think it's maybe like a former alcoholic. So it's been long enough that they can be around alcohol, and it's okay. And maybe they're not ever truly comfortable, but they can be, it's okay. But it's that one drink is too many. Yeah. One drink is not enough. Yeah. So I figure, and I like kind of if Sam was struggling with this addiction for all that time, I think before this, because this is a season 10 divergence, he'd probably been comfortable just around, like he was like numb to regular low level demons, and it was something about Dean being a knight of hell that smacked him in the face and made him unable to resist in a way that a normal demon on the street wouldn't have affected him that way. So I was like, I wanted him to be doubting. I wanted the reader to be doubting, is it because it's Dean, or is it because Dean is a more powerful demon? Is it one or the other? Is it a combination of both? But I just don't know, because
I'm not expecting you to have a definite answer, by the way. We're just chatting.
It's frustrating in the show though, because they just like, oh, whoop, no, everything's sorted. And I know God cured him the first time after they released Lucifer, and we know that. So if it took God-like levels to do it the first time, because Cass couldn't do it. Yeah. How come Karlee could do that? Or maybe the addiction is tied into the soul, and if it is, then it should have come back. I don't know. It was 100% a get out of jail free card for the writers of the show to just be like, oh no, it's moved on from that, it's fine. It's fine. It's
but for easy me, writing, I think, in a way, or it's just, you just have to suspend disbelief for a lot of that. Yeah.
And I think Sam is probably, he comes across as one of those, really mindful assholes. It's like, oh, you should just meditate. Just meditate, and it'll be like, I feel like he'd have his shit 100% in order. So he'd be like, yes, this is a thing that I struggle with, and I've meditated extensively. I'm not knocking anybody that meditates, by the way. I just kind of feel like Sam would be a bit like, like vegans that tell you that meat is murder when you're eating a cheeseburger. I kind of feel like Sam would be one of those people that's just like, oh, you just need to meditate. You just need to become
Well, he does that
one
with
with
Dean when they're
yourself.
eating. He just gives that like disdainful look. Like,
Yeah.
I could see
I
that.
didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't want to be like, oh, I think he's like a pushy asshole, because I don't think he is. I just think he'd be like genuinely from a place of, I can help with this, but as the recipient of that going, deep breathing is not going to cure my fucking problems, Sam. Like, that's how I would respond to that. So yeah,
Okay.
I suppose in my universe, Sam has always struggled with this, but he's found a peace with it. He's meditated on it. He's, I don't know, drunk special tea. I don't know what people who do that do. He's done yoga about it, whatever it is that those kind of people do. But it's Dean, it's Night of Hell, it's both that pushes it over the edge.
Yeah. And I think so, like, one of my first comments on Control Junkie was basically like the line that I think, pretty much encapsulates what you just said, which was Dean smells different from regular demon blood, richer, headier, like something that's aged in a barrel and fetches thousands per bottle. So yeah, I could see how that would be one of those things where any type of addiction, if you've got something that's just outside of the norm of what you would normally, like, say, want to try previously, or that was something in your past that would have been, oh my gosh, like I could see that being a very difficult thing for Sam. And Control Junkie is pretty much all of that taunting and teasing as Sam is trying to cure Dean in the dungeon. And I think so we only get really, and it's such a shame, but we only get a little bit of that Demon Dean sassy pants, a lot of it in the episode Soul Survivor. And I think you just kind of went for it and just like, we're just going to push it to, like, I don't know,
all the way,
level 50.
all the way up to 11.
Yeah. So I mean, every line that Dean responds with is just
filth.
It's filth, but then it's also like, it's so very there was demeaning in the show, of like, I can't believe you believe this, Sam, like stuff about the family and, knocking down John and all this kind of stuff. And then just kind of like Dean just keeps going back and back and back to those things to kind of just break Sam, I guess, and I thought that was great. I mean, a lot of that, and I mean, I'm going through it now because, like I said, I read 6 and 7 the other night, but there was no way I was going to be able to read all of them again. So I kind of went through different things about it because it all kind of runs together for me. So I know you, being that you've been immersed in it, and now that you finished it, I was joking to Karlee yesterday, it's kind of going to be like an exorcism for Karlee, at least for this segment of it, because I know you still have to finish, but I think you've gotten over well, I can't say that because you never know until you start writing again. But I think
I don't fucking know. I'm not in control.
But I think you've figured out a lot of the difficult pieces for the relationship that I didn't think you realized was going to happen when you first started writing.
Oh yeah.
And then, I mean, we talked about Dreamer and how she's been helpful with Beta. Can you talk a little bit about, for people that don't understand it? I mean, if they're listening to this podcast, they probably do, but like, what is a Beta reader, and how did that sort of like relationship with Dreamer come about? You don't have to get too specific, but like, how did that happen?
So I think probably the relationship between Beta and Ryder, it's basically like, you write your thing and it's kind of like an editor almost. I
Mhm.
think maybe it's called beta because editor is like a professional thing. I
Mhm.
don't know. I would have to
Okay.
look into that. But they come in and they read through it, and maybe they have suggestions on like plot points, or specifically Dreamer started betaing for me because she was like, it started way back with Taken, actually. Just because I was showing it to her as I was writing, because I do that. Some
Mhm.
people like Dreamer is one of them, actually. She will hoard a story until it's done, and she
Mhm.
won't show you any of it unless she absolutely has to.
Mhm.
So I've looked over some of her stuff when she's been like, it's wrong and I don't know why.
Mhm.
But I have so much imposter syndrome. I'm like, please validate me, fucking hell. I need you to validate me. So I like to share my work as I'm working on it. So I was
Mhm.
like, oh, I've done this and I've done this. So she came in and she was like, oh, it's really great. And she'd like leave comments about like, this is a really good line, or I like this, I like that. She's like, do you want me to run it through for like spelling and grammar? She's like, I'm good at that, I like it. And I was like, yeah, sure, go for it. So then she became my unofficial comma wrangler, because
Mhm.
apparently, even though English is my native language, and I've been reading and writing in English for 30 years, I don't know when you learn to write, whatever. I don't know where commas go, friends. I don't fucking know. I just put them in willy-nilly, and I hate commas with an unending fucking passion. I used to use Grammarly to like beta, check my stuff, and Grammarly
Mhm.
was like, you need a comma and a comma and a comma and a comma and a comma. So Dreamer came in and she did that for me, and I was like,
Okay.
you are the best, thank you. And then it evolved from there. So I sort of first broached the subject of junkies with her. I was
Mhm.
like, I think I want to do this, but I'm not going to make it non-con. This is a theme, because I was the old emails between me and Dreamer are just like, I can't write non-con. I'm not going to make true non-con. And now I'm like, whoop, warning for rape. Sorry, guys.
Mhm.
But yeah, she was with me as I was writing. So she's
Mhm.
giving me thoughts and what about this, and have you thought about this? And then when the beta comes, when it's finished, and she goes through and she wrangles all my commas and puts them in the right place,
Mhm.
and wrangles like my speech and stuff. And then in with that as well, she's like, this isn't clear, maybe you need to add something to this. And she just makes it, she takes my like rough draft and just
Mhm.
makes it so much better.
Mhm.
And when she's done with it, and I'm like, oh, it's perfect.
Mhm.
You're the best. Thank
Mhm.
you. So yeah, that's what beta does, and that's how me and Dreamer do the thing.
So, what made you want to come up with when you were thinking it was DubCon? Can you explain I don't know how to say this, the positioning that the boys were choosing to take in, or how Dean wanted to have this go down between him and Sam in terms of the sort of like, exchange the blood for the sex, like where that.
So
And just
I
remind me, Control Junkie is like the setup for it, right? And then
yeah.
we get
So
into
it
it
was
in
posted.
Shame
It
Junkie.
was it was posted out of order. So
Mhm.
Blood Junkie was the first thing posted,
Mhm. Okay.
which was like just any given scene from
Mhm.
this period of time
Mhm.
up until the end, when you get
Mhm.
Dean's point of view and you're like, oh, this is not as it seems, which was not intentional. And then at the end, Dean was like, I have things to say. Hi. And that's
Right.
what fucks it. If I hadn't put that Dean bit in, it could have
Right.
stood on its own as just a one shot. But no,
Okay.
it goes blood, and then control takes you from Sam, like it's a flashback, but Sam like finding Dean and bringing him back to the bunker, and it's Control Junkie is sort of where it diverges from canon, because we've got Dean tied up in the bunker, Sam's giving him blood to cure him, and then it goes wrong.
So
That's
Control's like the
where
setup for
yeah.
everything. So when you actually posted them, you posted blood first, but then if we're gonna like go chronologically, it would be Control, blood.
Shame. No,
Would it be
control, shame,
blood?
blood,
Okay.
hate, regret, denial.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I wanted I had this idea in my head. I wanted a masochist Dom Dean.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, because I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because Doms tend to be, I'm not generalizing, but like a dominant tends to be more on the sadist side of things, and it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I don't know. that didn't feel right for my Dean. And at the time, this was just going to be a one shot. So I was like, oh, I want a dom bottom as well, because you rarely see that. That's another like rare thing. So this was just going to be a one shot. So I was just going to push the boat out, and I was going to do the thing. So I was like, no, I want Dean to bottom. I want him to be a masochist, but I want him to be a dom as well. So I was like, how am I going to make this work? So, and it came sort of the behind the scenes of it would be that Dean could go and fuck anybody. As a demon, he could go and get laid anywhere he wanted, but who's he going to trust to fuck him? He's not going to trust anybody out there. So if he wants that, where's he going to get it? Because if you say to someone, oh, sex for drugs, you assume that the drug taker is going to be the one offering up whatever, their mouth, anything else that they might have. That's the natural assumption of that. So I did want to invert that and play with it and be like, well, Dean can get that. Dean can get ass anywhere. Dean can't get this. So, and then it ended up tying in with, you don't see it so much in blood because it comes, the power dynamic is established in that because Dean has what Sam wants. Sam is automatically, you know, Dean has the power over Sam automatically, but it comes out later that Sam prefers it like that, and he's quite happy to sub. You know, he's not bothered what goes where in terms of sex, but he prefers to give up his control. So again, when this was just a one shot, before this went fucking mental, that was what I wanted to play with. So that was why it was Dean was the bottom and Sam was the top. And then it went fucking crazy.
Yeah, I'm just looking through a part of it now, and it's a part where Sam is begging in shame. And he's like, please, if there's any part of you that's still my brother, help me. I get it now. Your blood is the only thing that can make it stop. I understand it's only you. Please, I'll do anything at all. And we're going to get into all this other stuff later about Dean. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole right now. So you feel like Sam is releasing control of the situation to Dean.
I don't think at that point. I think in a consensual relationship, Sam would prefer to give up his control, but this is not. None of this is Sam's choice. Sam is not choosing these actions. This is the situation he's in. In that particular scene, he is begging for what he thinks is his life. Yeah. So it's not, there's no like kind of sex play or
there's
BDSM
no fun in
play.
this. Yeah, this is just a life or death situation. Dean is. Yeah.
Dean's having a great time. Sam is genuinely begging for his life. Yeah. In that scene. I hate that fucking scene. I loved writing it, but I hate it.
Shame Junkie, you mentioned that it was inspired by the Virus of Life by Slipknot. There were lines in particular that I know you highlighted. What is it about that song in particular that kind of like, and this gets into, I guess, sort of to like how somebody gets inspired when writing. Did you listen to that song a lot? Like maybe like right before you started writing? Would you listen to it during? So like how did you use that song as inspiration?
So it's actually you're the start of that, because you commented on Taken. Let me just pull it up. You commented on Taken, and that made me think of a line from the Virus of Life, and that the idea of all of this came from that song. Okay. So let me just No, was it taken? It might not have been taken. It might have been something else. It was definitely something.
Okay.
But you had commented about, oh, I remember what it was. It was Give Me Novocaine. I'm sure it was. Yeah, it was. It was Give Me Novocaine, which was a Sam/reader insert about like subspace and stuff like that. And there's a line in that Sam says, until there's nothing left in your head but me. And you were like, I love this. You're like, you did the thing. Jesus, Sam is beyond thorough. I think this is my favorite line. Until there's nothing in your head but me. Thank you for sharing your stream of consciousness. Smiley face. So I had replied to that and I was like, so your comment made me think of a Slipknot lyric. I'm going to empty you and fill you in with me from A Virus of Life. And I was like, I want to write something to that lyric now. Maybe something Dean related, actually. It's been a minute since I played with him. And that was Give Me Novocaine was posted in July of 2022. So it took a few months to get there. But I think, have you gone and listened to
I haven't,
song, or
but
have you just looked at the lyrics?
I looked at the lyrics. Yeah, I looked at the lyrics. Yeah. And I could definitely see where that, because I think like there's certain sections where there's verses that you could immediately say, okay, this sounds like this is Sam's bit, but then this sounds like this is Dean's bit. Like I'm looking, like I'm sweating through my veins. I'm trying to hold on. It's unbearable. And then like, it's almost worse for me. And that almost sounds like now we're going into Dean. I'm going to tear you apart and make you see.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting how, and I think this is kind of where I get into some other stuff later, in my thoughts about because the great thing about fiction is it makes you think about other things. So not just about this particular situation of this Sam and this Dean in this situation, but our Sam and Dean on the show, and like what all of this means and where it kind of sprouted from and stuff like that. But yeah, this is a very heavy, there's a lot of lyrics in here that are just like watching, bring me to my knees, waiting, I am your disease, lover, set my symptom free, covered, you won't feel a thing. So yeah, it's just,
so
there's a lot.
It's when I was when I listened to the song, and I think of Sam and Dean in this situation, I can never tell whose point of view it is. So watching Bring Me to My Knees, is Sam kneeling for Dean, or is Sam going to bring Dean to his knees? Because both things happen. I am your disease,
Yeah.
So it has the ambiguity that I think works so well for this, because
the addiction could be Dean addicted to Sam.
Sam.
I mean, yeah.
Exactly. So if you go back one slide, I don't know how you do that, but if you go back one slide.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
Yeah. So like, you're relaxed, you're sublime, you're amazing. You don't even know the danger you're facing. On the surface of it, it's Dean, but it could easily be Sam is Dean's weakness as much as Dean is Sam's. I've been with you all day. I'm trying to stay calm. Wait a second and you'll settle down. I'm just waiting until you really let your guard down. So, and I will say to anybody, even if you don't like, if on the back of this episode people are like, oh, I want to go read this fucking train wreck, even if you don't listen to the song, because not everyone's into metal, not everyone's into like new metal, not everyone's into Slipknot. And I will warn anybody that thinks, oh, I'm gonna go and listen to this song. Trigger warning, gagging, vomit noises at the end of the song. The lead singer literally throws up. It's ick. Read the lyrics, because it's so, every chapter has lyrics from this song and they all tie into what's happening in the chapter. So I give you the lyrics I think fit, and I say to you, who's talking? Is it Sam or is it Dean? And it's a fucking killer song as well. like I really like it. I've always liked the vibes of life. So yeah, that that idea came, 6 months before Junkies even came from you.
Okay.
It's a good song.
Great. I'm glad I could help.
You were endlessly helpful.
And I'm just like on right now, we're just like looking at some of the comments again from like for a Shame Junkie, and Winchester's Queen is just awesome. They are always there for it. And I was really kind of surprised that, here's what I will say, Karlee, your writing is good enough that I know for a fact people that do not normally read Wincest are reading Wincest. They're reading this. That's good.
I was so shocked to see Winchester's Queen in this fic, because I know that they far prefer reader insert. And then, to specify it down, Dean reader insert. So I was endlessly stunned to be like, sweetie, what are you doing in my awful corner of Wincest? Like, I'm glad you're here, but you okay?
But it's the characterization. Like, you got the characters, you got the characters right in a way that's, as much as I was very upset about Demon Dean, you got the, I can't even say soul of Demon Dean, but you got him right, for this particular story. You took what you knew of him and you fleshed out more of that inner dialogue and conflict. That really, conflict at the end of the day is what makes a good story. If there isn't conflict, then I think you could kind of like say that's kind of more like one shot or a scene, but you're, I wouldn't even say, because I know you're like, I hate plotting. It's more about the conflict, that I think when you get that right, and you can get conflict in just a scene too, but it's that ability to explore the conflict and make it inherently interesting that I think is why you've got people like Winchester's Queen. And I think, I'm pretty sure when we had BJ on the podcast, I believe BJ was like, yeah, Wincest really isn't my thing, but no biggie. And
yeah,
I know they've commented on your stuff here too. So I'm like, okay, they're reading, people are reading because it's good writing. I'm
blushing again. You're so kind.
Well, because I think
You're
it's
so nice.
true, I mean, and you've got, my comments, I felt so bad for Sam, and I was so very mad at Dean.
We've discussed this extensively. Every time, I think some of the audio from that conversation is going to go in this episode, which was getting into Zoom, and Sandra's first words to me after hello were, give me co-host, we need to talk about Junkies.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pop that in, like,
something.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pop that in, like, when we get around to like the regret junkie, because I feel like that, I think that was around the time when I was like, I've got it, we've got to talk about this a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I want to hold off to the want to hold off on more of my demon thoughts too, but yeah, you got small Sandra rage out of me for Shame Junkie. So now Blood Junkie is where we get into, this was the first thing that this was really the first thing you came up with, but then you came up with the parts that either like began and then ended this whole demonic junkie tale. That's still not done, but like, again, we're talking about this.
But no one's a demon anymore.
Yeah.
Everyone's, that part of the story is done. Me fucking it up, like here, driving it into the ground so fucking hard, it's done, and now I have a spoon and I'm trying to unfuck it. It's difficult. It's a lot easier to mess things up than it is to fix them. But yes, Blood Junkie is where it all began, and then on the back of that I was like, I want to go back. I want to know where this started, because
Mhm.
there's the bit that, I don't know if you're going to reference it now, we're talking Blood Junkie, but it's all Sam's POV until you get to the end. And then Dean comes in with big fucking boots
Mhm.
and he's frigging ideas and conflict, because
Mhm.
there wasn't conflict before. And then
Right.
Dean came in and gave me conflict, and I was like, why have you done this?
Right.
Why are you like this?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
then from there, I was like, okay, well, how did this start?
Mhm.
So I did control,
Right.
and then I was like, well, now I need to link the two.
Mhm.
So that was shame, and
Mhm.
then Blood Junkies, and then we were caught up, and then we've gone forward
So
chronologically.
before Dean came in and fucked it up, like what were you particularly like? What were you just trying to explore in just Blood Junkie?
I just wanted strung out, sweaty,
Mhm.
desperate
Mhm.
Sam,
Mhm.
and I wanted Dean to be a demon, so I didn't want it to be nice. So I was like, I want him to be, mean. I want him to be humiliating Sam. I want him to make him crawl and beg and be an asshole.
Mhm.
And then as Sam's part ends, Dean leaves and Sam's just left
Mm.
on this bed that's covered in like sweat and cum, and it's
Mhm.
just gross. And he's just left to be a mess. He's crying
Mhm.
and he's left. And that was fine. It was, nobody was going to be like, oh my God, this is the feel good story of the century, but it was fine. And then Dean had thoughts outside of
Mhm.
that. And we find
Mhm.
out that actually it's not as it appears. So
Mhm. Yeah.
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 Um.
Even in this comment, I know you said Sam's consenting, but I disagree. Because in my head, when I started this, and this is, it's probably linked to some trauma. Most of my reactions are linked to some form of trauma. In my head, I'm going, well, Sam could have walked away. Sam didn't have to do any of these things. He could have left. Ergo, it's dubcon. It's not true non-con. Like, nobody was held down. He could have left. Sam chose to consent to this treatment by virtue of not walking away. And then you and Dreamer were like,
Yeah, that's
I
still
see
not.
what you're saying, but no.
And that comes back down to the victim, right? Like if the victim's feeling like you, that just happens. Like, I mean, we've seen plenty of real life scenarios where, someone will feel they'll somehow be made to feel that it was their decision, when in fact they had no other choice if they wanted to try to survive or get past that point.
Yeah.
And that's where Sam is. So even though Sam's making a choice for survival, it's still not consensual. He's consenting to the fact that he wants to try to get out of this situation, not to what's happening
Not to what's
to
happening.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I suppose, like, TMI, trigger warning. This was coercive rape by coercion, sex under duress. It's something that happened to me in an old relationship of mine, and it took me a number of years to put those two things together and be like, actually, that was rape. I didn't fully and enthusiastically consent to that. It was rape. But because it's been such a long time, and because with all of the other things that are going on in my mind, I don't have time to deal with that.
Right.
I just shove it to the back of my head and I go, I'm not a rape victim. I'm not going to call myself that. It's disingenuous. It's rude to true rape victims. Don't call yourself that. Just put it in a box and leave it alone. And that definitely came through here.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it until I'd got a bit further on in the story, and I was like, oh yeah, that's why.
And I think
because I had very similar thoughts. I was like, I could have walked away. I could have punched that person in the face. I could have done all manner of things, but I didn't. The words, fine, go on then, if it's going to shut you up, would leave my mouth. And I'm like, well, you consented, but not really.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't intend to deal with some of my own trauma, but there's so much of it now. It just infects everything.
And I think one thing that our society makes us compare trauma. And the one thing I just keep hearing over and over again lately, and I just try to hold on to this: trauma's trauma. It doesn't matter. You shouldn't be comparing it to, for you, it was trauma, it's trauma. And, it's important to value yourself enough to realize that what occurs in your life to you, for you, by you, makes you who you are. And you kind of have to turn the mirror and look at that, at some point. But again, you talked about, I think writing, from what I've read, I think writing for you is very much exploring those themes and things, that you're working through. And I think it's great that you want to share that, with us, because I think it does help a lot of other people who are reading it. That I'm not alone. I'm not the only one, and the fact that you're even like distilling it to, this is what's happening to Sam, I think gives readers a chance to maybe connect the dots too. Like, you're not blatantly stating it, you're working through this with Sam as he's going through all of that. And I think fiction can help that for people who maybe don't, maybe even haven't had the light bulb come off, or come on, in their heads about that. So,
yeah,
I think that's good. I think it's good. It's good.
Good.
And I put Runaway Dreamer too. I mean, Runaway Dreamer commented on every section, and
She
there's
did.
threads and stuff.
She's babe.
But they were very much like, these babies need to get their happy endings. I think you knew as you were writing too. And like, as Dean was like, Dean might have been the voice of everybody who was going to be reading.
You would not believe the amount of comments, because she comments, like I said, like we share the Google Docs and I write it and she comes in, and like until it's done, she's just commenting like, oh, I love this line, or this is really evocative. But I get a lot of comments like, why are you like this? Please stop hurting me. So help me God if you don't fix it. I would have so many comments that are just like, oh my God, you better fix this. What are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. And I pulled this one comment, and you just referred to it. I love dominant bottoming so much. It's so good, and you don't see it enough in Wincest Fix. So it's great to see it here. I love that your Demon Dean is both a masochist and a sadist. So you're ticking off the boxes for a lot of readers. Candace was like delightfully depraved. Loved it.
Yes.
And we've had Candace on the podcast too. So that was great to see that. So then we've got hate junking.
Yeah.
So something has changed. Dean's demon powers are getting weaker. Worse, his blood is getting weaker too. Soon it's not going to be enough to keep Sam from withdrawal. Dean's internal monologue as he tries to figure out what the heck to do, mixed in with Sam coming for another fix. So, hate. What was going on in hate?
So hate was, I'd done blood, control, and shame were all from Sam's POV with little bits at the bottom of Dean's POV. So in control, it's Dean, gloating that, oh, he's got somewhere he wants him. This is going to be great. He's this really powerful knight of hell. And now he's got like a juiced up Sam on his leash, and they're going to go and raise hell. And stuff like that. And then in shame, it's so we didn't really cover the plot of shame, but it's basically Sam tries to drink from other demons. It makes him sick. He comes back. Dean's like, why are you like this? Just ask me, I will help you. So Sam like begs for his life, and And then Dean's like, okay, right, yep, no, I'll help you. Down to the dungeon we go, motherfucker. And Dean like ties Sam up and leaves him, you know, to mirror what Sam had done to him, and comes and like, you know, just drip feeds him little bits of blood to just keep him just about functional.
And that's the chair scene, right? Is that when that happens, or does that happen here?
That's no, the chair scene is in Shame.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
After, I think it's like the third time that Dean comes down, because literary parallels, am I right? I'm so clever. Not really. Sam's like, it's not enough, I need more. And Dean's like, no, you can have more, but you'll fuck me for it. And Sam has like about 87 meltdowns. But unfortunately, that is a true rape scene, because Sam very clearly says, no, do not. But I'm pulling a little bit from the show, is that it's in the show they seem to link Sam and Ruby and blood and sex. It's like, you know, it all kind of came together. So I was like, you know, maybe demon blood is like Viagra, you know, kind of, or like a lot of drugs actually get you like fired up and want to do the thing. So I was like, you know, Sam's hard, and Dean's like, well, it's fucking there, and if you want more, this is what we're gonna do. And Dean even then is taunting Sam like, you said anything, and Sam's like, I thought you were gonna do me, not that I was gonna do you. And I twisted the consent, you know, and really mangled it up and left Sam a complete mess at the end of it. But that's sort of a true rape scene. I distinguished that from what happened in Blood, because I was like, in Blood, Sam's kind of like, okay, fine, this is what we're doing. But Shame is really like, whoa, no, absolutely not. And Dean just does it anyway. So, and then Dean's sort of, and that Dean's really rough-footed by it, and is like, feels really strange. And he's like, you know, another key theme of the whole series is not like this. Dean wants Sam wants Dean, but not like this. They've both been harboring, you know, crushes, unrequited love, whatever you want to say. And never said anything. So they're both like, oh yay, oh fuck, not like that. So, and Dean ends up really wrong-footed, and he's like, oh, is it because you finally got that from Sam, but not like this? It doesn't feel right. And then we move to Blood, and Dean's conflict that started it all was Dean's tired. He's bored of being a demon. He's tired of hurting his brother. He wants things to go back to normal. So for all that, we've had Sam's POV of the actual things, and then we've had these little snippets of what Dean's thinking in the background. And I was like, Dean, it's time for Dean to talk. It's time for Dean to tell us what's happening. And then after that, I said Dean wasn't getting another fucking go, because it was like pulling teeth. It was genuinely trying to get blood out of a fucking stone. It was so, and he was resisting, and he didn't want to talk to me. And we've had so many writers come and talk to us, and it's so great when people come on and they're like, yep, no, I totally get what you mean. And they're like they're real, they're fictional characters, but they're real in your head, and they have personalities in your head. And sometimes they sit the fuck down and refuse to move. And that was what Dean did for me. So I felt like it was time for him, especially on the back of Blood, of him saying, you know, he's tired and he's bored and he doesn't want this anymore, and you know, something is changing. So I was like, well, we need to explore what's changing. We can't do that with Sam, so we need to do it with Dean. So that's where hate came in.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is where I think with the switch over into Dean's head, is kind of where I think you start to see reactions from the readers being like, okay, thought this was really cut and dry, and I'm really mad at Dean, and then it was like, okay, well, now I'm seeing the struggles that Dean's going through. At Roxy 5129, I really feel sorry for Dean, how desperate he feels. Which is a queen. This Demon Dean is so freaking hot. Can't wait to see how the
He is
talk
though.
turns out.
He is though, because we
And
have.
then
Yeah, there you are.
mhm.
Dean, what a words, Winchester. Yep.
You're
Oh, look at my cute little no pain will be inflicted for no cause.
yeah, that was
my sweet summer child.
Yeah, we didn't really know.
I meant it at the time.
I know you did. And then this is where then we get it.
Yeah.
So this is where I think after Regret Junkie is where you and I like did a little chat. And like I said, I'll probably pop the 10 or 15 minutes where we talked about it in around this point. But so this is where I think you were talking about how Dean was actually working on figuring out how do I sort of find a way to cure Sam and then also cure himself in the process. And so I know there was like the pharmacy scene in Regret Junkie.
Yes.
Where I remember you said you were very proud of yourself because you're like, I plotted. I did things I normally don't do. I was like, this is good. It was good.
Because if I'm not writing smut, it tends to be like really stream of consciousness. And that's, I don't know, because I obviously, it's on a shirt, guys. It's finished when I hate it. So by the time it's done, I can't read it anymore because I fucking despise it. So I don't know how it reads to an external person because I hate it, but I always feel like I'm like writing a stream of consciousness. So that pharmacy scene, it wasn't smut and it wasn't somebody thinking some stuff. That was like a scene, and I had like blocked it out, and my actors knew what they were doing and where the marks were, and I was like, yes, I fucking nailed it. I was so proud of myself. So dumb. It's like, I think it's like half of chapter 1, maybe, is literally just Dean driving away from the bunker and robbing a pharmacy and driving back. I'm so proud of it.
Yeah.
Stupid proud.
No, it's great.
So
I don't know how. I just want to look through some of the comments too.
Okay.
I'm like Time Lady 66. Because they'd mentioned something about kind of like getting feels, or like Gadriel started to come up like in their mind. I would have the same thing that Gadriel caused. What a clusterfuck, poor Dean. Demon him would never have done any of this if he'd known it was going to cure him. Runaway Dreamer. Never get over how good Sam's dialogue is at the end here. So viciously confrontingly truthful. You know I love Dean, but the razor blade in Sam's mouth is too good to deny. And then I just kind of like picked some quotes in my comment because I didn't know what to say. I was so mad at, and I don't know why, but it was like a culmination, I think, of just being like, here we go again, because this is a running theme in the show as well, of like the boys just don't seem to learn, I think, from their mistakes. And I think you kind of just want the boys to get it and get over themselves and do what's best for each other, too, in the process. And that's hard for, that's hard for just a lot of people in general. But yeah, there's like a lot of like Sam's comments.
This is that one. I think it resonated a lot with people because it's one of the first times that you see Sam snap back. Even in shame, he's still so unwell from withdrawal that he's trying, like he's trying, but there's no bite behind it. There's, he's saying no, but he's tied up and he's weak. And what can he do?
Yeah.
Whereas this one it's the first time that, Dean kind of fesses up and goes, I have fucked up royally, and I can't give you any more because it's not enough. And Sam just loses it completely, and really starts like, you fucking did this, you've murdered me, I'm gonna die, and it's your fault. And when I say it like that, it sounds so juvenile and ridiculous, but it works in the fic, I promise. I'm paraphrasing, but Sam's like really takes Dean to task in a way that we see him do in the show sometimes, where he's like, you dragged me back into this because you couldn't deal with your life on your own, and now look what you've done, kind of thing. And Sam just like storms off and has a bitch fit, and Dean's kind of left going, oh fuck, whoops.
Yeah. I think this is one of the comments too, that you were just like, Time Lady 66, I'm sitting on a park bench out in the open sobbing, our poor boys. And you
my soul,
you felt really bad, but
I
then
did.
The commenter was like, don't feel bad, that's the sign of a good fic. And I think it's true. You can get somebody to, even if it's ripping their heart out, you're able to do that with the story and what you're putting together, for them. And I know, a lot of it's about getting into the character's head, but you're having to put them in situations to then get into their head. So that's where I think the plotting of it, is really great in this story, because you're taking your time to figure out which scenarios, scenes, where is it going, how are they going to get from here to here. Like I know you don't know what
no,
but you're giving yourself these points, along the way, waypoints that you want to get to. And then it's like, okay, now you're waiting, how are the boys going to help you get there? Because like you said, you have to get into you have to figure out what they're feeling, and you have to listen to them to do it. So I think it's just like growth as a writer, really, and it seems to be happening exponentially with you, which I think is great and amazing. I know we're gonna, what I may do with this, depending on how long this ends up being, this may be a 2-part episode. If we're going to talk a little bit about what ended up, to my mind, being a double non-con scene in Regret Junkie in chapter 3. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? How did you, did you know this was going to happen? Or did, again, like, you just knew there was a point in the story, and then, like, how did you get into this whole Dean not willingly participating in what was going on? Like, at that point, it was no longer Dean running the Demon Dean. Well, Dean, okay, this is where it gets really confusing for me, so we're going to talk about that later. But how did you get to this part in the story? And was this one of the, it probably wasn't one of the more difficult, I don't know, but was it one of the more difficult scenes for you to write, or did it just come out like stream of consciousness again, and it just flew out of your brain?
This one wasn't difficult to write, and you think it would have been, but it wasn't. I needed there to be a mark of delineation between Dean as the demon and Dean not being a demon but not being human also. So, but see, this would have been so much easier if I had evolved the Mark of Cain, but I think the Mark of Cain storyline is really dumb.
Okay.
And far too fucking long. So if I'd have been like, oh, Mark of Cain, Night of Hell, Demon Dean, whatever. But I didn't. So I was like, I need that to be, something needs to shift. Something needs to give. So up to, I would say, maybe hate. No, up to blood, it's Dean is a demon. Dean is not possessed by a demon. He is in full control of his actions. He is a demon. So we're talking season 10, Demon Dean.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed he's getting weaker. Something is happening that is making him weak.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some behind the scenes things going on there. It may or may not come into the story as it is now. If it doesn't, I'm sure we can do a recap episode and I can be like, here were my plans before the Winchesters came and fucked it up. So for me, the next step down, if you're not a full demon, but you're not a human, you're possessed. So this scene was the last gasp of the demon.
Okay.
That was Dean, but is now a separate entity possessing Dean. I was going to hand wave this away with some soulmate bullshit because I was like, this is a great idea that I don't know how to execute. The force did it, all purpose plot hole filler. So this was the last gasp. This was it. So just before this scene comes directly after the pharmacy scene. Directly before the pharmacy scene is Dean goes to check on Sam, and Sam begs him for a little bit, just take the edge off. You can do what you want. You can have me any way you want me, just a little bit. And Dean responds to this physically, and Sam's like, again, don't we love to play with consent? Sam's like, you're hard, you fuck me, give me what I want. And Dean leaves. Dean walks away. So we come back. Dean's got the medication. He's got his plan. He's going to sedate Sam, and that's how he's going to get him through it. Don't look too closely at the logic of that, please. It will not hold up under scrutiny. Leave me alone. It's fiction, damn it. It's my story. So he gets back, and Sam is up on all fours, doing stuff, in trying to entice Dean to be like, look, you don't fuck with me, and then I'll do what I want, and I'll get what I want. And Dean, he just wants to get Sam to stop and just lay down so he can give him this medication that will sedate him. But then what happens is, as soon as he touches Sam, that is when they say it like they do it in the show, like the demon can choose to be in control or not in control. So that's the point that the demon goes, and I'm running the show now.
Okay.
So then we switch back and forth between what Sam sees, who can tell his brother's possessed, but this demon is offering him, hey, if you suck me off, I'll give you what you want. And we swap between that and Dean inside his own mind, watching this and freaking out massively because, oh fucking hell, God, no, we can't give Sam any more blood. I can't start this again. It's been like a week. No. So you've got, I don't know, they never explore in the show how one breaks out of that possession. They say it's possible. And obviously we have, when Dean's possessed by Michael, he's in the bar. And you see Bobby kind of like take control and Sam and stuff like that. But I was like, I wondered what it would look like in your head. And I imagined it just being like if the demon, if whoever you're being possessed by isn't bothering to create you a dream, it's probably just like being in a blank room with nothing. And you can't, there's no nothing. So that's where that is. So we've got Sam's sex under duress, a fix for a fuck. We've got Dean, whose body is being used against his will. I didn't deliberately intend to write a double non-con scene, but that is how it turned out.
That's what we got. And yeah, I think too, like because I know you mentioned like it's like looking through water, and I distinctly remember, I think, Dean in the show talking about like what it was like being possessed by Michael. And I know we don't technically, again, like in the show, Dean's an actual demon, so there's no like possession. And then so I think the Michael Dean thing is the closest possession. And I think he does end up, stating to Sam, before Michael makes him a pretty little cage where he doesn't fight. It's like, it was like he was being held underwater. And so I would assume that, maybe that, came out with this too. Like, it's blurry. He can hear his own voice though. So mistaking Sam's intake of breath before he moves. Being trapped in your own mind is a complete mind fuck. So yeah, I think that's when I was like, we need to discuss some of this, like, because it was very jarring, because it was for both boys in different ways, non-consensually being a part of this, and not having
Being
control
used.
in either end of it. Yeah, so this was I'm always amazed. We've talked about this and we'll talk about this too. Like, I write full on to escape. Like, my version of, like, I just want to, and I know sometimes I'll hit on things, but like, you confront this stuff full on. And I know sometimes you say you probably don't even realize you're doing it, but you confront it, and it's just amazing. Because it really makes you have to look behind the curtain and really see what's going on, and how are your reactions to this based off of, say, the reader's experiences and how they react to it. So
Yeah.
but again, you'll have to write another story to salvage the relationship.
Fix this.
Just telling
what
you,
the fuck?
don't forget,
Yeah.
time and time again. Yeah. Dreamer misses is going to
there's
miss the evil
Dreamer.
bastard. Now make them better. Stomps foot.
Yeah. I'd hate you right now. Good Lord. Yeah. That was yeah.
It feels weird to call something that hurts this bad good, but damn, this is good. Yeah.
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 I was proud of Regret Junkie. And then this would be, oh yeah, chapter 4. You don't want to talk about the twist at the end of chapter 4?
I mean,
it's not really a twist. It's not really a twist, is it? It's just, I don't know. That wasn't meant to happen either, but that was what happened.
So what wasn't meant to happen, Karlee, that ended up happening? What wasn't meant to happen?
Chapter 4. So to the end of chapter 3, we have the double non-con, and then Dean, very unfortunately, that was deliberate, manages to retake control of his body right at the point of orgasm. So Dean's back in control and takes steps back from Sam to try and stop, and just spunks all over Sam's face, who is so fucking angry about that. But chapter 3 ends with Dean sedates Sam, and that's the stuff. So chapter 4, we see Dean go and exercise himself, which I thought was really clever. Using we've seen it in the show. They record the exorcism on their phones. So I pulled it from the show and I was like, yeah, maybe. So Dean's like, right, this is too much now. We'll fucking deal with this. So that was fun to play with, actually, because I have to imagine that being exercised probably hurts, but no one ever talks about it. No one on the show is ever like, fucking, oh God. So I hammered that in with Dean about how physically painful I think it would be.
I think the only time you see it is in the first season, and that's with Meg. At the very end, and you see the shell of the person that's left, and the discussion.
She was of her vessel, however, whatever, that had been broken and damaged. Dean threw her out of a window, so she's hurting because the demon isn't keeping her together anymore. I was kind of just like, I bet the act of having something forced from you like that would be painful. Because demons don't go willingly, do they? They do not go quiet into that good night. So I'm sure I bastardized that, but never mind. So we go that, and then it's a series of jumps through chapter 4 that details Sam's recovery. So Sam spends a period of time being like not fully intubated, sedated, but being like drugged out to the point of unconsciousness. And Dean is giving these doses every 4 hours. And in between doses, he's, just trying to keep Sam hydrated, you're taking him to the bathroom. The idea was that if Dean can keep Sam's body sedated long enough for it to, burn away the blood, then he won't be like flung around the bunker. He won't suffer the physical effects that would kill him. Again, please don't look too closely at that logic. It will not hold up under scrutiny. Don't look at that. So we jump through like getting through that stage to Sam being able to be more awake, to food, to being able to get to the bathroom on his own, to showers. And Dean was sleeping in the same bed as Sam, ostensibly to watch over him when he was sedated, to make sure that he didn't choke or vomit, or to be, monitoring him. And as Sam improved and they sort of started spending time apart, when Sam would be like in his room on his laptop because he's still too weak to get up and move about, but he's awake enough that it's awkward for Dean to just be in the room all the time. So Dean fucks off, but he keeps coming back. When it's Dean's time to sleep, he keeps coming back to Sam's room. And there's nothing nefarious from Dean's end, nothing. He's like overdressing himself to get into bed. We're talking like jeans, shirt, flannel, socks. He'd put a fucking hat on if he had to, he's going to go and get a jacket. He's like, does not want there to be any misinterpretation. He is only there to keep an eye on Sam and make sure that he's okay. And this is working out perfectly. And Dean's like, I'm a light sleeper. I'll hear. It's fine. And then Sam wakes him up. And Sam's like, what are you doing in my bed? Why are you fucking here? And throughout all these jumps, Sam's been really distant with Dean, because when Dean went to sedate him, Sam was like, just let me die. I don't go away, let me die, leave. And the first time that Sam comes round, and Dean explains like what he's done and what's going to happen, and Sam goes, well, what if I don't want you to? And Dean just hits him again with a syringe. So again, we're mangling consent, in all things, not just sexual. Dean taking complete control of Sam's body and doing with it as he chooses. So we get to the end and Sam's like, why are you here? What are you doing? Have you been in my bed all this time? Meaning since I let you out from the dungeon, right back at control, have you been in my bed? And I've just been too out of it to notice. And Dean's like, no, just while you were detoxing, just keep an eye on you. I swear I haven't done anything. I swear, just, oh my God. And Sam's like, it's time to go, and kicks him out. And it's awful. And I hate it, and I still hate it. And everyone who read it was like, why have you done this? I have so many comments from Dreamer like, why have you done this? And I've said it to you, I said it to Dreamer. Sometimes you write a story and you write that story. I didn't write this. I was the scribe. I had nothing to do with this. So I didn't plan for Sam to wake up and find Dean there. I didn't plan to kick him out, anything like that. That is just what happened. And I was standing there going, guys, what the fuck? What? Yeah.
But that's the kernel of, like, I know you keep saying you're the scribe. I got that, but you got to give yourself credit for getting to that point and then letting that just happen. Like you put the pieces in place and then let the scene go. You could say you're the scribe, still came out of you. It still came out of your brain.
Yeah.
So you could definitely say, I let the characters, I understand, like, you can't say understand, that's not the right word, but you gave the characters a chance to just be free and open and see what would happen, but you had to get them there to begin with. And all of that is
Yeah.
your writing, and all of that is your thoughts and your processes in the story, and taking the time to maybe step away, giving it a chance. Or, I mean, I don't know, do you do a lot of rewriting in your writing, or do you kind of like just wait
I
until you
try
get to,
not to.
okay, okay. So you really kind of like wait until you get to a moment of like, okay, I'm ready to sit down and just see what happens. And
Mhm.
so not necessarily a lot of maybe plot or like changing up or looking at a scene and going, that doesn't work. So you kind of just let it
I
flow, and
just
then
let
you're
it.
there.
I have an idea.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
as this series has gone on, my ideas have been treated with more and more disdain.
Hmm.
But I'll have an idea and I'll be like, I want to get from point A to point B.
Hmm.
And that's it. My goal is just to get to point B, and however
Hmm.
we get there is
Hmm.
however we get there.
Hmm.
And I don't like particularly going back to rewrite things. Mostly because I don't like editing. I'm like, oh no, it kind of just be as it is.
Hmm.
But I kind of I know we've talked about this before, but I view my writing almost like a diary.
Hmm.
So I can look back on it and go, oh yeah, I was there when this happened, and this was this. So I
Hmm.
do try to leave it alone
Okay. Gotcha.
most of the time, unless Dreamer comes along like she did with Denial Junkie and is like, I love you, but you've copped out on the ending of this so hard, and I'm gonna
Hmm.
need you to go back in and
Hmm.
fix that. And
Yeah.
I did go back, and there have been bits from these where I've had to go back in and be like, that doesn't work, or it wouldn't. It's never usually that something wouldn't be a certain way.
Hmm.
It's just that it's got there too quickly. So it's
Hmm.
never Sam wouldn't do that, or Sam wouldn't say that, or Dean,
Hmm.
or whoever. It's just I've missed a bit. I've
Hmm.
turned over 2 pages and there's some I've got to put a little bit in the
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh look, more crying. More
Yeah.
crying comments.
Yeah. Yeah. We're crying. BJ was crying. Faraway 22. Damn, man. Like, ouch, Sam. Damn, like you've never done shitty things to your brother. Well, compromise. I would say this is a little bit more than shitty, but Dean was literally a demon. Not that it makes what he did okay, but he literally wasn't himself. They live the lives they live. They have to be able to separate their true feelings and reality from possession, soulness, and demonism. This is where we constantly go back and forth again into context. For these boys is much
Mm-hmm.
different than, what some normal um you know rom-com like situation. Like, it's just they never have that, they
Yeah.
never have that break, that like deep release of that. Their life is constant
Stress. It's
stress.
awful.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, so yeah, you've got a lot of people, you know um and then this is Denial Junkie. So I know Denial Junkie was, you literally said, okay, I'm done with Regret Junkie. I'm not posting anything else until I'm done. Whatever you
Mm-hmm.
thought your version of done was. That changed,
I
I think.
Well, I had been so with normally when I've posted multi-chapter things before, I've written a chapter, posted it, and then started writing the second chapter. But with this one, even as far back as Shame, I was like, I have to have this all written out before I post it, because I don't know what's going to happen.
Hmm.
So I was like, I can't have a wildly shifting sense of tone here.
Hmm.
So the original plan was Denial Junkie was going to be the same as Shame, the same as Regret. I'll finish this installment and then I'll post it. And as I got further and further into Denial, I was like, this is a fucking mess. I might have to not post anything until this story is completely done.
Hmm.
Because, oh God.
Because you had a lot of thoughts, a lot of thoughts that I think changed over time. So I was looking the comments. Most of the comments were like end of March, and if this, you literally like just posted this Denial Junkie like this week, I think.
Yeah.
Right. And you just kept posting. You posted the chapters, I think, pretty consecutively once you were finished. Plus I also was like, Karlee, I want to talk about this. Can we post these? So Denial is like trying to put the pieces back together again. Which isn't as easy. I think someone wrote a comment, it's easier to break than to fix. Which is very, very true. So the major issue now is that, Sam, the bunker has become this claustrophobic cage of memories, and that they both, I think, can't get away from, knowing what happened in many, many places of the bunker. There's just really not a lot of safe spaces,
There's
I
nowhere
think, in
safe.
there. So you've got Sam really pretty much just like trying to shut Dean out, but he's not able to sleep. Dean's not doing well. So what do they decide to do? And for a moment, can I say I thought I missed a chapter in the story.
Oh God.
No, but so chapter 6, I'm trying to stay calm. Breakfast is pretty great, a step up from their usual diner fare. Dean loads up on bacon and coffee before practically skipping to the car. I was like, wait a minute.
What the fuck happened? What?
I was like, okay. So we had discussions. Did you take the whole like, okay, I'm going to break up, I guess, maybe like the action, and then like kind of follow up with, this is where they are now, but how did they get to that point scenario in the story? Did you kind of want to focus more on the dialogue between the boys to kind of get that feeling, rather than just say like a ton of exposition about like, this is where they're at now?
So Denial Junkie took place a lot in Sam's head. A lot of Denial Junkie was in Sam's head. But I was kind of trying. A lot of things happen in Denial Junkie. It goes on. It's 7 chapters and it's like 20k words. It's enormous. So we go from the start, which is it starts maybe about a month after Sam kicks Dean out at the end of Regret, and nobody's doing great. Nobody's having a good time. But I said this to Dreamer and she yelled at me. I was like, it's Sam's story. And she was like, I know you don't think that. It might have started as Sam's story. It's both of their stories now. But in my head, much like the show, it's Sam's story. So we see a lot of it through Sam's eyes. So it's been about a month and Sam is running on about 2 hours of sleep in every 24-hour period. So he's doing great, guys. Kicking his brother out has had no long-term effects whatsoever. And that was the starting point with this. Sam booted Dean out. What is the fallout of that going to be? Because when it came to fixing this, it was so easy to fuck it up. So easy, guys. Didn't even struggle. Didn't even bat fucking eyelid. Fixing it, I'm like, oh, bloody hell. Sam cannot reconcile Dean, his rapist, with Dean, his brother. So this presents a multitude of problems.
Yes.
Completely reasonable. This presents a multitude of problems. First and foremost being that anytime anything has gone wrong in Sam's life ever, the first person he turns to is his brother to help, to fix it. So he wants to do that, but he can't because his lizard brain. Because the Winchesters seem to have a lot of selective amnesia.
A lot. I was picking up on that a lot. Lizard brain was getting mentioned a lot. Yeah.
Because they seem to have a lot of selective amnesia, where they're like, oh, we'll just forget about all the terrible things.
Yeah.
But Sam's subconscious, Sam's lizard brain, Sam's Neanderthal, like whatever you want to call it, survival instinct cannot and will not allow that to happen.
Right.
Dean is dangerous. Dean is a threat. Dean has done all these horrible things, and we cannot be anywhere near Dean. So the conscious thinking part of Sam is trying to find a way to twist this in his mind to make what's happened, if not okay, move pastable, which is not a word. But his lizard brain is always the word that comes to mind, but you know what I mean, like your survival instinct, your gut feeling, whatever you want to call it, is sounding all the alarms, flashing red lights and yelling and screaming and absolutely fucking not. So he's put a whole load of distance between him and Dean because that soothes that part of him. But in putting that distance is also causing a lot of the problems. And it takes Sam a little while to put the two together that, hey, I kicked my brother out and I haven't slept through the night since. Fuck. So we go through things with Sam, and he switches rooms in the bunker. Is it the space? Because in my mind, a lot of the sex, rape, whatever you want to call it, took place in Sam's room. That was where he was when Dean sedated him and got him through the detox. That was where he found Dean in his bed. It holds a whole heap of bad memories. So he switches rooms, and he thinks that maybe this is going to help. It isn't. It doesn't. We see him like obsessively like running, exercising, trying to physically wear his body out. And none of it's working because this gut instinct, this lizard brain, is like completely hyper vigilant. Dean is there, so it's not safe. Because the last time we fell asleep, we woke up with Dean in our bed, so we can't fall asleep anymore.
Right.
So we go through this with Sam, and he in a fit of desperation decides that he's like, maybe if I'm in the same room as Dean and I can hear him breathing, I'll know where he is, and that might help. So he goes and he like camps out on the floor of Dean's room in the bunker, and he doesn't sleep, but he finds that more restful. So it's kind of, like they say, if you can't sleep, but if you can just get into bed and just rest, that's almost as good. So that's kind of what he's doing, and he's sort of keeping himself on his feet like that. And then Dean has a nightmare, wakes up, finds him on the floor. And he's like, what are you doing? And Dean, just completely innocently, it's the middle of the night, he's like, just wake me up. Just, why don't you just get in the bed? Just, I'm going to go to the bathroom, just get in the bed. And Sam's like, oh, fuck no. But it's completely normal to Dean to find Sam in his space near his bed and go, just get in the bed, it's fine. And for some reason, that shifts things a bit in Sam's mind, that Dean that's normal. From them being children, and him sort of like Dean waking up to find Sam standing next to his bed. I'm sure any parents out there, you've had that. It's 2:00 in the morning and you open your eyes and there's a little face 3 inches from yours. And after you've finished absolutely dying, you're like, what is the matter? Why are you in my room, tiny demon? And they're like, I had a nightmare. I went to bed, whatever it is. And it's the middle of the night and you're fucking tired. So you're like, just get into bed. Just get into bed. It's fine. Whatever. So the fact that Dean reacted so normally to this just twists something, just moves the pieces a little bit in his mind to think maybe there's still my Dean is still in there. So that shifts things.
I had that highlighted, that one part, because also I think we forgot to mention too that in the previous chapter, one of the ways you end it too is that there's the Sam bit that I think really kind of like knocked a lot of people out too, because you explain it because you wrote it.
So when I'm writing, the only Wincest I'd written before this was Taken. And I don't know how you write dialogue, but I don't think this is what this character is going to say. I give them the situation and they tell me what they're going to say.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't. Taken was just Sam and Dean consenting, blah 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 blah, and then I'd end up with some like little brother kink in it that I didn't anticipate, and I was like, okay, all right then. But when I've written Sam and Dean together in any scenario, I've never distinguished between Sam and Sammy. It's just whatever Dean feels like saying at that given moment,
right?
That's what comes out. So when I started writing Blood and Dean was calling Sam Sammy, I was like, oh shit, this is going to be an issue down the line. Well, it wasn't when I initially started writing Blood, but I think after I'd written like Shame, I was like, oh, this is going to be a fucking problem, innit?
Yeah.
But it was just whatever Dean felt like saying. And then in that moment, he calls him Sam, and Sam's just like, don't call me that. Because in Sam's mind, the demon calls him Sammy, and he cannot hear that. Because like Demon Dean was using it like really like in the same way as like little brother, you know, and like it sounds affectionate, but it's not in any capacity.
In a way.
Yeah.
So, and I think that was interesting too, because like when you pulled that out, like I immediately thought about the season 2 scene with Sam and Dean and Gordon at the bar, and Gordon immediately like uses Sammy, and you know Sam like shuts him down, like
handle it well.
Like, he's the only one that gets to call me that. So that, I think that just brought me back to that, like, you know, someone else has now, you know, taken that endearment, really, because like, you know, like you said, Dean will just throw that out, you know, randomly. I mean, I think there's reasoning why he uses it, right? But it's not all the time. He picks and chooses, you know, when to use it, and he's not even knowing he's doing it. You know, he's just, sometimes it's Sam and sometimes it's Sammy, and it just kind of like fits for whenever he's going to use it. And I think there was that, you know, the scene in Baby, you know, Dean calls him Sammy or Samuel, or he calls him Samuel,
because one of the greatest rock and roll writers of all time, Samuel, and Sam's doing his final, goes,
he says it's Sam,
but it's in the pilot. Sammy is a chubby 12-year-old. It's Sam.
So it's almost like this weird, like, you know, but yeah, I mean, I totally understand that part of it, where like some people are allowed to call you a certain thing, some people are not, and this Demon Dean, you know, kind of made this decision that is now, like you said, it's kind of like lizard brain. It's traumatizing him every time he hears it. And he doesn't want to hear it anymore. And that's, in that scene, it's like, why are you in my bed? Want to try sharing a bed, see if it helps me sleep. Is that okay? Dean yawns loudly and adjusts his legs. Knock yourself out, Sammy. It hurts, but Sam can't stop it. Sam. Dean doesn't answer, but Sam hears the rustle as he nods his head. So that was, again, like I realized we kind of didn't talk about that, because I feel like that's a very important part of the movement of the story too. Is like those things that kind of just pop out and become another reason why things are happening the way they're happening, and why there's so much trauma. It could be just a word, it could be just a name that does that.
Sammy was one of them. But sort of that Dean reacting so normally, that shifts something, and then Dean goes and cocks it all up. So we have a little Dean interlude, and Dean, again, it's a lot of the stories from Sam's point of view. So when we jump over to Dean, we find out that actually Dean's having just as hard a fucking time, but we're not in Dean's head as much. So Dean's having nightmares, and Dean's having issues, and Dean catches Sam in it's called microsleep, and it's when you are sleep deprived to such an extreme that your brain will just shut down without you being aware of it. You may have your eyes open, you may look to all intents and purposes awake, but your brain has just gone offline. It's completely uncontrollable, and it is an effect of severe sleep deprivation. So Dean has this nightmare, wakes up, comes out to find Sam just what he thinks is just staring off into space, talks to him and gets no answer. And so it's a big thing for him to put his hand on Sam and shake him, because Sam is made it very clear, no touchy, flinching corridors, do not touch. So he wakes Sam up, and Sam's like, oh, I'm gonna try and go to bed. And then Dean's Googling sleep deprivation and finding out that Sam could start having seizures, he could have a heart attack, he could have a stroke. This is dangerous. So then we've got Dean kind of thinking what he can do to try and help. So he offers Sam his bed again, completely innocently, completely like a parent to a child. If you can't sleep, come and get in bed with me. And Sam does not react well to that. Sam freaks completely the fuck out. And we spend a bit of time with Sam then, working out why. Again, a lot of denial takes place in Sam's head, with Sam trying to work out why because Sam, after Dean offers the second time, Sam puts the wall straight back up, and he's like, nope, no, stay away from me. I don't want anything to do with you, talking. And he works it out that it's in his mind, it's Dean's trying to take control of his body again. It's Dean's trying to make decisions for Sam, and Sam doesn't want that, can't handle that. So we spend some time with Sam kind of mulling over that, and then Dean comes and is like, do you want to go for a drive? Because as most parents know, what do you do with kids, especially babies, when they can't sleep? You put them in the car. Sometimes you take them for a walk, but a lot of parents, you put them in the car and drive them around. And by God, you'll drive all night if it means they fucking sleep. So that's his idea. Let's get in the car. Let's go for a drive. And it works insofar as Sam sleeps, but it's not. You have those, I think everybody has them, those dreams where you're falling and you wake up before you hit the ground. And there's there's a full fancy name for it. And there's some people think it's because your heart rate slows down too much and your brain doesn't know if you're alive. So it makes all your muscles spasm to find out where you are and check that you're still alive. It's to do with anxiety, blah, blah, blah. So they're in the car and Sam's nodding off and then jerking awake with these dreams. So yeah, chapter 4, I think it is, ends with them getting in the car. And then chapter 5 is the Dean chapter, and Dean's watching Sam sleep, wake, Sam sleep, wake. And then we get to Dean thinking. And Dean's thinking, that this is all his fault. And if he didn't have this lust for Sam in his heart, in his soul, the demon probably would have still found something awful to do, but it wouldn't have had that to pull from. It's his fault. And then he gets to thinking about how much he enjoyed the actual sex acts between him and Sam. And then it clicks with him that he's getting hard in the car thinking about raping his brother while his brother's having a PTSD attack right next to him, and Dean does not handle that well. And Dean's he throws up and he's like, just give me 5, I'll take us home, it's fine. And Sam's like, let's just find a motel, we're 3 hours away, I want to drive back. You shouldn't drive back, I can't drive, I will crash. So they get a motel, and Sam spends some time that night. We go over the car journey from Sam's point of view, and Sam spends some time that night thinking about everything that's happened and how to move things forward. Maybe this is what they need. Maybe they need to be away from the bunker. They need to be on the road, just driving around normal. And maybe that's going to help. So next morning, You know, Dean's like, oh, how did you sleep? And Sam gets like 40 minutes of sleep and he feels great. So he's like, oh, I slept really good. The bed's really nice. And Dean's like, oh, we can stay another night if you want, because all Dean's like is fucking sleep, don't have a heart attack and die. Sam suggests a road trip, and Dean is all in for this. And that's why you felt like you turned over 2 pages, because you're like, what the fuck? Like, breakfast bacon? What the fuck? So because I wanted it to, well, if you don't have something nice, if it's just constantly conflict and depression and anxiety, it gets boring after a while, doesn't it? You're kind of like, oh well, this is how we are now. So you have to have something nice to offset the awful.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to be like Sam is trying. Dean's reached out with this let's go for a drive. You know, Dean's trying. Sam's meeting him. Sam's trying.
Right.
So they're somewhere in Kansas. I think I did have them be somewhere because I had to work out how long it would be approximately. They're somewhere in Kansas, and they're going to go to Topeka, which is the state capital of Kansas. Why are they going there, Dean? Sam asks. Are you really interested in Kansas history for some reason? Sam asks. No, there's an Evel Knievel museum there, replies Dean, which there is. I googled it extensively. There is. It's in a Harley Davidson shop in Topeka. I googled it. So they're gonna drive, and while they're driving, you know, the chatting is good. They've had breakfast. Everybody's in a good place. Sam falls asleep in the car and has a nightmare. And it is a nightmare. It did not happen. But in his dream, he's sedated. And the implication is that Dean is going to actively, penetratively rape him. But it didn't happen. It did not happen. But when Sam wakes up, he doesn't know.
Right.
So he wakes up and Dean is just about to touch him. And he's like, you were really thrashing around. And Sam's like, you're gonna pull the car over, I'm gonna be sick. No. Dean comes and like holds him up. It's like, you look like you're gonna pass out. So Sam is just completely like, he's just had this dream, his brother's touched him, fucking awful, holy shit. So he asks Dean, after you sedated me, did the demon do anything, touch me? Dean does not react well to that, obviously. No, absolutely not, never touched you. And they kind of it's ruined then, isn't it? I was like, I sent them out on a happy little road trip. Again, I didn't plan that. I had a much gentler ending for this planned out, and they went, nope, not even a little bit, guys. So we spent another night with Sam, who's mulling things over some more. And he's thinking, you know, he's tired of being afraid of Dean. He's tired of being hyper vigilant. And I'll be honest with you, author to author, I was bored of writing and being sleep deprived, right? I was bored of it. I was like, fucking hell, I'm sick of this now. And I said to Dreamer, I was like, I'm bored of this. And if I'm bored of it, the reader's going to be getting bored of it as well. So I need to move something. So again, we spend another night with Sam. And in these 2 nights that we spend with Sam, just thinking about everything, he's breaking down like all the things that Dean did to him, and yes, butting a lot of them. You know, Dean raped him. Yes, but Dean got him addicted again. Yes, but Dean humiliated him. Yes, butting a lot of things. You know, really trying to twist it around to make it not that bad, which is not ideal. But yeah. So we get up the next morning, and Sam's like, "Can we go?" No, they don't. They get up the next morning and they go and do the Evel Knievel Museum. And they go to the Kansas Capitol Visitor Center, and they have a lovely day, and it's nice. And there's a barbecue place at the Evel Knievel Museum, which that actually is. And there's a cafe at the visitor center called Let Us Feed You. which is just so perfect. I had to put it in because Dean takes severe umbrage with this. So it's, it's fine. And they're just gonna, I think they just decide to just drive like evening-y time. And they're just gonna drive. So they come out of Kansas, they end up in Oklahoma. I've spent a lot of time on Google Maps. Can you tell?
Yeah. I remember you telling me too, trying to figure all this stuff out. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I could tell you how far away things are in my country. But
Well,
in
I
your
don't
country.
know either. You have to Google this stuff if you want. Like you're not going to know offhand, like, how far away. Yeah. It's a big country. Yeah.
Yeah. But so I can't remember what happens.
Yeah, where I'm looking at it right now, like they debated staying in Topeka.
Thank you.
They go back into the car. They're like 20 minutes in. Sam's dozing off. He wakes up and he finds Dean's hand just resting on his shoulder over his shirt. His stomach tightens in reflex, but he forces the feeling down. So, and right away, Dean's like, Sam, I didn't do anything. I promise. You were thrashing around again, and I was just going to shake you awake. That's all. God, I swear that's all. But I put my hand on your arm, and you just stopped. Just started breathing nice and deep. So, again, like, it's that connection, whether or not Sam's brain wants it, his body lizard part brain, still connects, I think, some of that comfort from Dean with safety. And you did a great thing too of like then connecting the fact that the car is, a safe space for Sam. And not just being out of the bunker, but like, and then it gets back to what is home for them. And they've always had, I think, a very different take on the bunker that's kind of talked about in the show too. Like Dean just very much is like, oh, okay, I'm making this my home. And Sam, I don't think is ever kind of, if he has
Sam
felt
ever
like
accepts
it's taken him a long time to even get that way, if he's even there. Yeah.
Whereas the cat, he's never, I know I have like lines to the effect of, he's never been hurt in the car. Nothing bad's ever happened to him in the car. And like bad things have happened in the show, but I'm specifically thinking of that scene in the pilot with the ghost. But overall, the car is home. The car is safe. The car is
Dean and the car are safe. Like, you know what I mean? So like those two things together, I think are safe. I think you could say like maybe the car on its own, it's always been there, reliable.
We get into that, don't we, though? With it's the car and Dean. It's not just the car. Yeah, but I don't know how I'd forgotten that. I think I'd forgotten why they got in the car, why they didn't just stay. But yeah, so Sam like figures out that he slept like almost 3 hours because Dean has kept his hand on Sam's shoulder for all that time. And again, that moves the pieces in Sam's mind. So they stop. Dean's tired. They stop. The implication there being that Dean kept driving because Sam was finally asleep, and he would have just driven all through the night if he had to, if Sam hadn't have woken up, which I think is beautiful. He's such a good muffin. Yeah. So we're in the motel. Dean goes to bed. And Sam's just kind of like, that's when it clicks for Sam that the last time he slept properly was because Dean was in his bed. Even though they weren't touching, Dean was in his bed. So he thinks, well, maybe. And he does have, like, there is a moment where he's like, oh God, I'm almost as bad. Oh, fucking hell. Shit. And he has a wobble, but he gets into bed. And obviously Dean is just gonna wake up, isn't he? And that's when that comes in with the Sammy, what are you doing? Just getting into bed. And in the morning, Sam has slept the whole night. maybe 6 hours. I don't think I put a number on it. Maybe 6 hours. He's feeling fucking great. Dean is weird. He doesn't know why. He figures if Dean had a problem with him getting into bed, he should have said something. Obviously, at this point, Dean would move a mountain with his fingertips to get Sam to fucking sleep, because all he can think of is stroke, seizures, heart attack, dead. Mountains with his fingertips. So Sam wants to go back to the bunker to grab some clothes and his laptop and stuff for a longer road trip. It's fine. Falls asleep in the car. Whatever. Wakes up alone outside the bunker. Huge
I have
panic
this
attack.
highlighted. Yeah, this one I have highlighted.
Go.
He couldn't even say why he panics. Last time he was here, he wanted to be as far away from Dean as possible. Now the idea that Dean has left him has him spinning out. He tries to ground himself in the car, fingers compulsively rubbing over the leather seats, but it doesn't work. He's breathing faster and faster. He can't get enough air. The car door judders as Sam flings it open, launching himself out onto the road. His vision is going blurry. He's going to throw up. He can't breathe. He's going to die. Dean left him to die on this fucking roadside. He feels himself drop to his knees, arms tight around his chest, trying to hold himself together. He can't breathe, can't see, can't hear anything but the roaring in his ears. And then it goes on again, and then I get to the point where, Dean's there, he's holding, he's gripping his cheek, and Sam is like, "You're here. You didn't leave me." Sam must have been screaming. His throat is raw. "I didn't leave you, Sam." He's going to get ready to say Sammy. "Sam, I just went inside to grab our things. I wouldn't leave you like that." Sam can feel the tears tracking down his face, relief or adrenaline come down, or some other emotion. He's not sure. "Woke up alone in the car. Thought you left me." Dean bows his head, holds Sam's hand even tighter. "No, I won't leave you as long as you want me here. I'm here. Promise." And, talking about how he's been wanting Dean's touch for a while, missing the casual way Dean would put an arm around his shoulders or pat his back. Nothing remotely sexual, but intimate in its own way. And now Dean's hands are on his skin for the first time since the detox, and it feels better than it ever has. There's a part of him that's freaking out, his senses still on high alert, but he forces it down, forces it into silence. This is Dean, his brother, not a demon, not possessed. His human brother who has always tried to comfort him and has used, I keep having to go to the next page and it doesn't want to do it, and has used his hands to heal far more than he's used them to hurt Sam. And right now, his hands are warm and comforting on Sam's skin, helping to banish the clammy feeling of cold sweat. And then they decide, Sam just wants to get back in the car and start driving. And then, I felt so very bad for Sam. Because he's not in charge of how his body is reacting, and it's all based off of the input that he's getting, and his circuits are so fried from the way he's been used, and the addiction, the betrayal, all wrapped up into this being that's meant all of those other things for him for his whole life. So I can't even imagine. You do a great job of explaining it, but still it seems like so much for one person
to
have to be going through. And you want to get away from somebody, but you can't. You physically can't. Your body will die if you are away from this person. One way or another, it's going to make you not able to function because of that. Yeah,
that was a big thing. Sam realizing that all the walls he's put up since that night have made everything so much worse. But he couldn't not do that. That's, I say this is canon divergence from season 10, and I have referenced some things. So when he was possessed by Meg and he killed all those hunters, when he was soulless and he turned Dean into a vamp. But so you can assume that up to the divergence, it plays with canon. And I think all those times when Sam's body and his mind weren't his own,
Mm-hmm.
and again, this is another time when he has not been in control of what's happened to him, but it's so much worse this time because it's Dean
Yeah.
that's taken him over.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, he wants this to be okay, and he wants it to, go back to how it should be, but he just can't, because he's, this is not just one incident, this is the latest in so many incidents that he's been used against his will. He's been manipulated, he's been drugged. Ruby did the same thing. That he can't just take a deep breath and put it to one side and go, still my brother, he's an asshole, but he's my asshole. This is it's more than his conscious mind. This is his body rebelling, in a way that trauma truly can make happen. And you can be logical as shit in your mind, but the body remembers. So in one of the nights with Sam, I think it might have been the first one actually, there's an old, it's a I think it's an African proverb, the axe forgets but the tree remembers. And Sam spends that time, thinking, he doesn't think Dean is the axe that forgets hurting him, but he is certainly the tree that remembers. And he sort of draws the distinction between his conscious mind that wants to forget, and he knows he can, but he wants to be able to move past it, versus his survival instinct that is the tree that remembers, that cannot and will not let go of what's happened. And so I feel for Sam. I do.
And then
he's not having a great time.
I did highlight the bit about the Impala versus the bunker. The bunker might be Dean's home in truth, but Sam never fully accepted it, was always waiting for something to go wrong and them to need to leave. But the Impala, Dean's baby, she's always been there, has always been safe within her chassis. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And then after that, we get onto the final chapter, which is where everything, whatever control I still had over this, left. It left. So, oh look, we've got more comments. Stop making me cry. A lot of people, such is the way of AO3. If you post a work in progress, even if you know it's done, it will be slow until it's fully posted, because some people vanish, some people do vanish and don't finish off things. So a lot of people going, I was gonna wait but I couldn't, which I have done. And it's, as a writer, that feels great, because I have been there as a reader going, I want to wait until this is all done, but I can't. I need to know what happens.
Some really
Talk to your brother. No, not like that.
I'm back to screaming at Sam. Just tell Dean how you feel, stupid. Yeah.
We need therapy, Winchesters. So we get to
hold on. I'm gonna go back to this.
Oh yeah, that's Sandra's breakdown.
This is gonna be we're gonna have to break this up.
Yeah.
We're gonna make this
certainly.
a whole
you could cut like 90% of my rambling.
Oh no,
I
want to keep this. I want to keep this inherently together, because I feel this is just. This is exercising out this part of it. So we're gonna go through this. Yeah, we're gonna go through this.
So yeah. Do you want me to talk about chapter 7, or do you want to talk about chapter 7 as a reader?
I have parts where I
have questions. What the fuck happened?
No, not questions. They're finally talking. In this final one is, I think, where it's kind of what you want them to be doing. And you get into Dean, wanting somebody to flog him, for everything. that's happened. And I think it ends up being Sam going, you don't get to make this choice again. Like, you don't get to decide that I highlighted, we're not fucking doing this. You don't get to decide we're broken beyond repair. Remember when Meg possessed me and I killed a bunch of hunters? You didn't leave then. Or when I was soulless and let you get turned into a vamp. You didn't leave. So you don't get to try and push me away or run off now. We've been damned since birth, Dean. We're Winchesters.
Yeah.
That gets into the whole, they're just never, it's just regular relationship stuff is hard. And then you're throwing in all of these other things that no human person should be able to be expected to manage or get through. And you get to the part where they're having this discussion, and I think Sam is really really starts to see the effect all this has had on Dean. Sam takes a beat to look at Dean's face, to really look. Dean is pale, dark circles under his eyes. He's lost weight too. His cheekbones are sharper than they should be, but he's still Dean, still the same beautiful face Sam has been admiring all his life. The same clear green eyes Sam has been getting lost in forever. Same plush lips that Sam has wanted to taste since he was old enough to know what a kiss was. And then I think you do the thing you're expecting. I mean, Sam slaps Dean as they're like continuing to go through this, right? Like they were gonna just
Well, I told you about this, didn't I? I was writing this. We're getting up to that point. So Sam tries to talk to Dean in the car. He's like, I really think we should talk about this. And Dean's like, I really think we shouldn't. And it turns into an argument. And one of my genuinely my favorite exchange from that is Dean says, you should hate me. And Sam just like under his breath goes, I tried. And Dean's response to that is, you should have tried harder. And I think that encapsulates certainly Dean, who is willing to bear the weight of the world on his shoulders and take full responsibility. Because in his head, there's no distinction between who he was as a demon and who he is. Whereas for Sam's desperately trying to draw a line and a distinction, because if who Dean is, who his brother is that demon, then what's the point? There's never going to be reconciliation, and if there's never going to be reconciliation, then there's no point. I suppose if on the back of this incredibly lengthy episode you're like, I'm gonna go read this shit, suicide trigger warning for the end chapter. Both Sam and Dean reference putting a gun in their mouth. Not in any serious kind of like, oh, I'm definitely going to do it. Just like, I should. If it wasn't for this, I would do that, but trigger warning.
Yeah.
So, if Sam can't draw this line, then, because it comes after Dean says, if I wasn't worried about what you would do, I'd put my gun in my mouth right now. And then it's like a turnabout Sam saying, if there's no line, if there's no distinction, and that's who Dean is, then this can't be fixed. And if it can't be fixed, there can't be a Sam without Dean. So if there can't be a Sam, might as well put his own gun in his mouth. But so after they're having this argument, and Dean just like pulls off into just like off the highway, first motel they find, buys a room, and like storms off, and like, so they're arguing in this room, and Dean's like, Sam's like, you're my brother, and he's like, I'm your abuser, I'm your rapist, I'm your torturer, you should hate me, you should put a bullet between my eyes and leave me. And there's something in Sam just like snaps, and he's like, you don't get to make these choices. And as I was writing this, Dreamer was in the Google Doc with me, and we're exchanging notes, and she's like, I don't like what's happening, and I'm like, neither do fucking I, bollocks. And I got to the point I'll see if I can find exactly where it is. Yeah. Dean says, then you'll damn us both. And I'd got there and I genuinely like put it in italics a dream where I was like, do they kiss or does Sam punch him? I don't know. Up until that point, I was watching this conversation play out going, I don't know what's going to happen. Fuck. Right up until that point. And then we fixed it. And yeah, Sam hauls off, punches Dean, is like, you don't get to make that choice. If you don't want this, then that's fine. Leave. But don't try and act like it's for my benefit. And they go back and forth. And yeah, you know, we're Dams's birth, we're Winchesters. And then Sam leans in for the kiss and Dean says, don't. And Sam is a good person who immediately lets go and backs off, because I was like, it was important that Sam do that. And Sam still, that Sam isn't, oh God, I can't think of the word. Like, Sam doesn't ignore his brother's lack of consent because fuck you, Dean. You didn't listen to me. I want to say malicious, but I don't think that's the right word. You know, but like he doesn't. I can't think of the word. You know what I mean, though.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't go fuck you, you did it, and carry on regardless.
Yeah.
So there's more conversation.
Yeah, I have I have this next bit where, like, after the conversation, then it gets to the point. I don't think of you as my brother, Dean, at least not just my brother. Sam steps forwards, starting to close the distance between them. You're my brother, my best friend, my partner, my fucking everything. He's standing in front of Dean now, close enough to hear Dean's whisper. Soulmate. Sam reaches out, cups Dean's injured jaw in one hand. He goes slow, giving Dean every chance to pull back, pull away, but he doesn't. Sam watches his eyes flutter closed just before their lips connect. So, and it's not this, you know, it's a kiss, but it's not like the kiss that fixes everything.
Yeah. And it's they're both angry and they're both fired up, but it's this sweet, soft thing.
And then Sam says, it's always been us, Dean. It's always been you. You took, but it was nothing I wouldn't have given if you'd asked. Which I thought was an interesting, good line.
Yeah, I'm proud of that line.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the soulmate thing is a callback to hate. Dean's trying to find out what the fuck is happening. Why is he losing power? Why is his blood not enough? And he has like just vaguely kind of remembers, I can't fucking remember what season it's in now. 4 maybe, where they meet Ash in heaven.
Oh, season 5. Yeah.
Is it 5? Oh, okay. Yeah. And Ash says that they share a heaven because they're soulmates, but it's never elaborated on.
Right.
In fact, I don't think anybody fucking remembers that it's said. Ash goes, soulmates, and then
they just look at each other for like a second, and then
that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
And it's never brought back up again in the show. It's just like this throwaway line, and I'm like, that's fucking important.
Yeah.
So back in hate, when we still had ideas that I was in control of this fucking thing, that was going to be centered around that even though Dean is a demon and he's evil and he's doing all these things, that Sam is choosing to stay with him. That Sam loves his brother enough to stay. Even though it might kill him, he hasn't left, you know?
Yeah.
Because they're soulmates. And that, the power of that, again, don't look too closely at it. It will not hold up. But that was kind of that, and it might still come up. I don't know what they're gonna fucking do next. It's just along for the ride.
Yeah.
But that Dean saying soulmate there was that Dean still thinks that, still acknowledges that, and Sam doesn't know. But yeah, it's a bit, I think it's a bit further down maybe, that all the firsts that were stolen from them, but they can still have this first kiss, and it's sweet and it's soft. I'm sure I referenced it. I have to look now. Yeah, the demon took so many potential firsts from them, moments they would have blissfully shared in another life, but not this. This is still theirs. That's just before Dean says don't. But yeah, because you think in that situation when you're all fired up that it's going to be, you know, passionate, angry even, but it's not. Yeah. It's just this sweet thing. It just, it gave me hope. Yeah. When I wrote it, and I wanted it to, that's what I wanted the reader to think, that, you know, there's a chance, because afterwards they have this really lovely kiss, and then Dean goes, I'm gonna leave. And Sam is just completely blindsided. And this is 100% Sandra, because I've whinged at her endlessly, like, oh, it's fucking difficult. And she said to me a while ago, she's like, I think you need to give them time. And I was like, I think you might be right, but because the sleeping thing was so tied to the end of regret, I was like, I can't time jump that because it's not going to make sense. So this has to happen now. But then we were talking about it a little while ago, and she was like, I still think you need to send one of them away. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right about that. And that was the plan. I had this really gentle ending for this, that they were gonna keep sharing a bed, and then this was gonna graduate to a kiss, and then Dean was gonna freak and be like, no, and leave. And then obviously they circumvented all of my lovely gentle plans by having an argument in the car. But you were right, and Dean is channeling his inner Sandra and going, we can't do this together. You know, in lovely Deanness, I can't sit across from you and tell you all the horrible things I've done and have to look in your eye. I can't do that. So Sam kind of tries to push back, and he's like, can we not just have tonight? And Dean's like, nope. No. Because I think in Dean's head, he was like, if I don't go now, I won't go. And I need to leave.
Yeah. And it's just so like, I really think it's the small little thing of you constantly showing Dean wanting to say Sammy and then catching himself and stopping, and then having to rewire himself for Sam, you know, and come back.
Yeah.
Like
that will be relevant later down the line. That will be relevant. But
so I think they eventually decide, okay, I mean, I don't think either one really wants to, but they know, again, like they know they have to. It's like not wanting to, like how we kept talking about the story, like they need time. I know, but I don't want to do that. You know, it's like you kind of have to let them have that. Because I always feel like that time to, and even though it's going to be hard for Sam, like he has to be able to know, they both have to be able to know that at some basic level, they could be able to function, even though it would be hard and it'd be heartbreaking. They could be able to function without the other. I don't think either one of them has that ability, really. But it's just knowing that they could try and see, you know, like what it's like without the other person, and then realize all the things that they need that makes their relationship very special with each other. So yeah, that whole absence makes the heart grow fonder, I think, is something you gotta let them have, because they're so intertwined together, and this has been such a mess for both of them. It's been such a, because really, like Dean can't Dean can't trust himself around Sam. Like, that's what he's feeling. Not only that Sam can't trust Dean, but Dean can't trust himself. Like, well, look at all the things he's done to Sam right now through all of this. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And he's got to be able to know from here on out what he's going to do in the relationship is going to treat Sam as an equal. And again, we can get into what all that means and how that has conversations and consent, sexually it's different, I feel like. But respecting each other goes a long way in a relationship. And I think that's really been lost in here with them. Not just the safety, because I feel like respect and safety can kind of like, because you don't feel safe unless you feel like you can show all of yourself to a person and know that you're not going to get turned away because of that someone's there to just take it all in, see all the faults, see all the flaws, and still be okay with it. And I think that's what Sam is trying to tell Dean. But it's just so much that even if Sam says, I'm willing to try, they've still got to take time. It's just too much. I always wished that, like, I know Garth was like the dentist for like the werewolves. The boy, like the Hunters Network needed
a therapist, yes,
like for that particular thing, like for the life that they were living with, like where they could open up, talk about all of the stuff that they were going through and have that connection where somebody wasn't just going to want to lock them up from it, but have an understanding, have a place to release all of that. So I think that they just need whatever they need to make this work. I think the start of it is space. As much as it doesn't seem to be what they need because of all the reasons why, well, Sam can sleep when, but it's like, but there's still all this other thing that they have to get over and figure out. So until they get that part figured out, they can't enjoy,
they can't
enjoy each other again. It'll just be start and stop, and then you do it again at the very end. You throw in Dean's point of view.
Yeah, that was a little callback. I couldn't resist that.
Yeah, you do that. And
it's we get Sam just Dean leaves and Sam's just gutted, just really gutted, crying, which is, I never think of them crying, but they seem to cry a lot in my fix, and I don't know why. But they do. And so we leave Sam sitting on the bed in the motel, breaking his heart. Dean, very much Dean's sort of mentality is, if I don't go now, I won't go. So I have to go now. Makes it 5 minutes down the road, half a mile, not even, before he's got to pull over. He's just as cut up as Sam, and just as just crying. And that's where we leave them. They're both crying in separate places, which is, it might be more heartbreaking than the end of Regret. Actually, it might be worse. I don't know, you tell me as a reader.
Well, see, I feel it's heartbreaking, but it's hopeful here. Like, I think at the end of Regret, there wasn't that sense of they might be able to fix this. Here, I get the feeling that they finally started talking, and they finally understand what the best thing is to do for each other right now. And that gives me hope. So yes, it hurts, but I'm definitely more hopeful at the end of this.
I am for all this, and I mean, this last chapter blindsided me completely. I had a whole different thing going on, and I reached out to you, and I reached out to Dreamer, and it was the end of this chapter that she came in and she was like, it's good,
Mhm.
But you skipped over like a whole heap of shit that you need to deal with because
Mhm.
it was late and I was just, I
Yeah,
don't
I think I
know.
remember you telling me you just wanted to get it done. You just wanted to get it done. So that must
Yeah,
have been when Dreamer was like, you need to go back and look
yeah.
at this
But
and fill
but
this
we
part
did.
in. Yeah.
She is both a wonderful beta,
Mhm.
a wonderful human being, and a wonderful author in her own right. If you haven't
Mhm.
read her stuff, fucking go. It's great.
Mhm.
Sandra will
Mhm.
tell you we're covering one of her series. It's fabulous. So she came and she like we went through it together. And then, like I said, when she goes and she does her like beta run throughs, and she'd be like, "You need to clarify this," or
Mhm.
"This clangs. You need to put something more here," or "Why is this like this?" And she takes my stuff and she elevates it, and I love her endlessly.
Mhm.
But she did come in and she was like, "I like it. It's fine, but this and this. You no, go back in and fix that."
Mhm. Mhm.
So I did, but for me as author, I felt like it was a total 180. We'd gone from Sam, you know, not being quite passive almost to suddenly, he's punching Dean in the face, he's
Mhm.
snapping back, he's
Mhm.
laying out his feelings like, sexual,
Because he's wanting to
romantic,
fight for
whatever.
them. He's wanting to finally fight for, I think, them. Like not just himself, he's realizing fighting for them.
See, y'all have such great insight. I was left a comment just before we started recording because Sandra's obviously she's taken these comments and things, but this one was just left like a couple of hours ago from Junkies. Would you look at this? Who is actually currently on the screen right now? Because I had put in the author's notes of this, like I have been reassured that this is not the Whiplash 180 that I feel like it is as the author, but I'm really nervous about posting this. So could you let me know if you think the ending is completely whack? So I don't know, they came in
Mhm.
and the comment they left was, "Oof, another gut punch right in the feels. This didn't give me whiplash. I don't know what it says about me, but I understand the characters and I see the motivations. I know they have their own ways of working through shit. The
Mhm.
two of them always try to balance each other. When one falls apart, the other steps up to shoulder more of the burden, leans in and lifts, even if he's falling apart too. So as
Mhm.
Sam was pulling himself together and taking on more of the weight of the situation, it allowed Dean the slack to crumble. That's how they process, how they heal, by taking turns and sharing the load. It's a frustrating juggling act to be sure, but it's what they do. I love these two chapters, beautifully written, perfectly heartbreaking. Oh, lovely. And
Good.
I was like
Yeah.
fucking mind blown. I was like, oh my gosh. Like my response to that was, oh my gosh, I didn't even see that when I was writing it. I was
Mhm.
just confused why Sam suddenly he seemed to have his shit together. But this
Mhm.
is it. Sam
Mhm.
broke, Dean broke, and Sam just stepped to take care of it. And I think the moment that happened is when Sam walks into the motel room with Dean sitting on the bed, and he just looks at him and he says, "What do you want from me?"
Mhm.
And I think that's the switch.
Mhm.
That's This is too heavy for Dean now, and he crumbles, and Sam
Yeah.
just steps in. And I didn't see that when I was writing it. I
Mhm.
didn't I didn't connect that. I didn't put those dots together. And again, yeah, Dean crumbles and Sam's there to fight now. Sam will
Yeah.
hold it up.
Yeah.
And I was it was less I couldn't see the forest for the trees and more I couldn't see the tree for the bark. I was so close
Yeah.
that
Absolutely.
I couldn't see any of it.
Yeah. I think that's the wonderful thing about writing too, is that other people are going to pick up on stuff that's there. Um or just maybe like clarify stuff, like Dreamer's been, able to like invested in the story but also like not writing it. Um so able to do that part for you, like that beta part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really really good. Really good
She is good
thing.
people's. I hope
Yeah.
you're listening to this. I will harass you, woman, until you listen.
So I think then the game plan too is that what we'll try to do with this is come back to the story. Now, I guess talking about this part, are you giving yourself as a writer some time to just leave it alone and then come back to it kind of with the same mentality, giving giving the boys their space, or do you, I know you haven't, you have points, right, that you think are going to happen. Are you giving yourself time before you write it, or have you already started writing it?
I've written a couple of paragraphs, but
Mhm.
I don't think they're right.
Mhm.
Kind of just, I more wanted to get like an idea, like a geographical idea of
Mhm.
where Dean was going to go.
Mhm.
So it's, what I've got written now is just Dean just like checking in, like
Mhm.
I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, but
Mhm.
I'm not, the sort of the dialogue in and around that I'm not 100% happy with. But at the moment, all I can see is point A, they've just separated,
Mhm.
and point B is I want them to reunite somewhere, not at the bunker, but somewhere.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I can't see how we're going to get there yet. So that needs to
Mhm.
break down into
Mhm.
smaller and smaller points. And at the moment, I don't know where the next point is.
Mhm.
So I've got Dean's just driving at the
Right.
moment. I
Yeah.
sent him over to, I think I put them back in Kansas somewhere.
Okay.
No, I didn't. I put them in Nebraska. York, Nebraska, actually. I've Googled things. I know things. You would not believe I've Googled so many motels as well. Because I was like, I don't know, I just feel like after a couple of years in the bunker, Dean would have standards. We're not looking at Motel 6s anymore. We're looking at like Value Inns, Best Westerns,
Okay.
the
Okay.
next one up. So
Gotcha.
I've had to go, all the places I've wanted them to stop, I've had to check if there's like a Value Inn or something there.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
I've left Sam in Nebraska, and I took Dean. I think his first stop was Des Moines, Iowa,
Mhm.
and then I'm sending him down to Cincinnati. I think I'm
Okay.
just sending him just east,
Gotcha.
over, just over there. So I don't know what the next point is going to be,
Mhm.
because I kind of feel like Dean is going to maybe bury himself in a bottle for a
Mm.
couple of days,
Mhm.
and maybe Sam is going to do the same.
Mhm.
But I don't want, because at the end, Dean's like, I'll call you in a few hours. Don't worry about it.
Mhm.
It's okay.
Mhm.
And I think if they both go off and drown their sorrows, what's that going to come back to? I don't know yet.
Right. Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
do think who they are as people. You're not telling me Dean isn't going to go and give himself alcohol poisoning. There's no way he's not. It's impossible.
Well,
I
especially if he
can't.
doesn't have, because I think
That's it.
that's what he tends to do whenever he runs away. I think that's what you tend to see happen
Yeah.
with him. Yeah.
So it's like he doesn't have a Sam.
Mm-hmm.
So of course he's still worried about Sam, but he's not physically there to watch over him.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have that implied responsibility.
But then we're gonna get
And
all the guilt, all the shame, because he's not gonna have a reason to. He's not gonna his reason for being, which is take care of Sammy, is not going to be necessary at that point. And I think
yeah,
that's when you get into all that. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I can just like I said, it's only a couple of paragraphs and it might not stay.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment we've got he says he's gonna call Sam in a couple of hours and get things going. We text Sam and he says that he's in Des Moines and he's gonna stop, and Sam just texts him back and just okay, because he's expecting a call, but he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So Sam goes, gets some beer, gets some whiskey, gets fucking arseholed and passes out.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the next morning, Dean says, Sleeving's heading east. Why didn't you call? And Dean says, scared of what? That you'd realize how much better you feel when I'm not there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not too far off the mark.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if I don't, at the moment, if they both deviate and go off and do the Winchester solution, which is to get so plastered. I can't see how they come back together just yet.
Right. Yeah. No, I get that.
So that's kind of, I have talked about this for 2.5 hours, and Sandra had like a whole other thing she was going to go on about.
No, what I think we're going to do is, I'm going to have this be its own bit. What I want to do, when we do another recording, because we're not going to be able to do it today, but when the next recording that we do, no, this was, I wanted, again, this needed to be discussed. So I'm glad that we did it this way. I think my thing is, as a reader too, is like my inherent issue with Demon Dean, and different conversations we had. I want to kind of discuss that along with some other thoughts I had about the boys in another episode. So probably we'll like do this episode, and then, maybe we'll have like a follow-up the next week, about those things that kind of get back into just overall the boys' overall, relationship in general, and how we've taken bits of what we see, come up with this, but then how it also relates back to, I guess, like canon Sam and Dean too, like, like that back and forth discussion. That's those kinds of things that are always fun. So yeah, no, this is good. I'm glad that we got, do you feel good? Do you feel good about
I do.
discussing? Yeah.
I do.
Good.
I do.
Good. So yeah, I wanted you to get the chance to talk about this, and just kind of, I think you need to drop the imposter syndrome, because you're a writer, like full out, like you can't keep like, feeling that way, because this has been when this is going to be done, you mentioned this is going to be like a novel length piece.
It's 45K.
Yeah,
currently.
and you're not done yet. So when you're done, this is going to be you've written a book.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Stop thinking that, stop with the imposter syndrome, because yeah, you're a writer.
It's not
you're
that
a very
simple.
Good writer. You're a writer. You're a very good writer. I've really I think since we started just chatting in general, and then watching what you write, what your comfort is, what you are brave enough to write about, to share. I think those are all gifts that you give readers. So you should be proud of that. And I know you're proud. I know you're proud of this. But
I am proud of this.
It's, and I guess just like for anybody else who just, who thinks like fanfic doesn't really make them a real writer, like, uncategorically, no. Like, you're writing, you're creating, you're taking the time to think about a topic, an aspect, a characterization, a why, a how, where, when, all of those things come together to make a piece of art. Writing is art, and it comes in various stages and forms, but fan fiction is another form of that type of art. And I think we're very lucky when we come across exceptional writers, or we get to see writers progress over time. And if you follow a writer, a fanfic author, I think you get to see that journey too over time. And those are gifts. I mean, like you mentioned, as it being like a diary or a journal, I kind of think the same way about writing, but I do it a little differently. You get to see where, like, you as a writer look back at something and go, oh, I remember I wrote this because of this, or I wrote this because of that, like those kinds of things, like their stages in life. And you may not realize it then, but then you can go back and look, oh, I was going through this. This is probably why I was doing this. It's probably why I was writing about this. So those kinds of things that aren't, apparent necessarily to the reader, but they'll pick up on the themes of it. And like I said, we definitely think a lot about Sam and Dean and their relationship for a reason, because it was just so very compelling. Even over 15 years, we saw the growth, we saw the changes there. That's a wealth of information to pull from, and ideas and thoughts and options.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's all very good. So I think this is kind of like, even though we're going to call it taking authors to task, I think it's just more about shining a light on fanfic authors and how very lucky we are to experience everyone's angst and drama and struggle to create, and what can
Yeah.
come out of it from all that. So yeah, I think that this has been a journey for me, and I've just been on the very outside of it, just kind of like getting thoughts and things, that you've been going through and dealing with. So yeah, it's been
a thing, guys. It has been
yeah
a thing. But I always think I've written a lot of, happy, fluffy, and that nice. And don't get me wrong, I love reading that kind of stuff. You've had a shitty day, you're like, I'm gonna go pull my bookmarks up and I'm gonna read the sweetest, softest, fluffiest thing I can find. But I also, and I do this in my day-to-day life as well, and y'all have definitely heard me do it on the podcast. There's so many things that I do, the ways that I behave, that are as a result of my past, of trauma that I carry around with me, that if I'm not upfront about it, I can come across as rude or dismissive, or I don't think I ever come across as like unfeeling, but I can come across strange, which is not particularly a word I like to use. Not normal. I potentially cannot communicate the way neurotypical people could communicate. So if I don't front up and go, hi, all of this significant mental health problems, and because of that I may do X, Y, and Z, it can paint me in a bad light. So I just front it out. I'm just like, yes, this is this, and I have clinical depression, and I have anxiety, and I have so much trauma. I've had to build a whole new house to put all my fucking trauma in, and I haul that shit around with me as well. And yes, I'm very tired. So I think, and I put that through in my writing. So if I'm dealing with issues, and a tale of two minds is the most prominent one of that. But I don't think there's any point in shying away from that in my writing as well. I didn't want to write this really awful, gut-wrenching series that is just, blow after blow after blow against the boys. But once I started it, I could then, in all good faith, just rush it through to an ending.
Yeah.
I couldn't. And I've written great fics that have rushed through to that ending, and you think, oh damn, I was too fast. It crosses into unbelievable territory, and I'll suspend a whole heap of disbelief for a fic. I really will. You tell me that, like, fucking cheese aliens on Mars, and I'm like, cool, Bob, right? Are they fucking in the spaceship? Awesome, I'll suspend so much disbelief, but I never want it to cross past disbelief, Like if I'd have had this and then they'd have come back together and Sam would have been like, it wasn't you, it was the demon, kiss me, a fool. Nobody would have believed it. Everybody would have, I would have felt cheated. Y'all would have felt cheated. So, and I certainly didn't intend to deal with any of my traumas via the medium of sandwich. Not in this one. I have done in other things, but not in this one. But I just think if you don't do that, then it stays hidden. And you do yourself and everyone around you a disservice by doing that. I am 90% of the time fuck nuts. All the time. If it's not like a genuine chemical imbalance in my brain that's making me crazy, it's one of the 17,000 boxes of trauma that I have with me. But something has just set me off a bit wrong, and now I'm fucking nuts. I had a genuine breakdown the other day because my husband killed some ants in the garden, right? This is the level of mental we're talking about here. And I'm still not all right with it. Okay? I'm still not. There are now no ants in my garden, and I'm sad about this. I'm not okay. That's what we're dealing with. So I can't get rid of that. So I might as well use it. And I might as well put it in there. And, you know, sometimes I can't make my life work out the way I want it to, but I can make their life work out the way I want it to. I can put all my crap on them and then go, and now I will fix it. So yeah. It's a diary. It's a diary of your life, and you can look back on it and go, oh yeah, I was here, or I was there. But also, it's like
it's also just learning, right? Like you just learn, you
You
change,
look
you
back.
grow, you know, you turn into something that you didn't expect. You look back and go, oh, who was that person that thought this and now thinks something very different? And again, like you can put that on a character to a certain extent. Think with fan fiction, if you want to be true and honest with the characters, then you have to sort of meet them where they're at and work through the stuff. So that's where I think honoring the characters is important, right? Like that's, I think when it comes down to it, I know you feel that way about the boys, and I kind of do too. Like you want to honor what's happening with them internally. And I think even though you maybe started with, oh, I saw this, I want to do this, you then realized, oh, I've got something else here. I need to do more with this story. You could have just done a scene, a one shot, maybe done it a little bit differently, and we wouldn't have gotten this, you know? And so yeah, it's yeah.
And I will say it that they say you should challenge yourself and stuff. This has been this has genuinely felt like walking through mud sometimes, because I don't like writing angst. You would never freaking tell if this was the only thing of mine you ever read. You'd be like, holy shit, this person is insane. But I don't like writing angst. I don't like writing sad. I don't like writing stressed. I like everything to be fluffy and nice. And then I wrote this and I was like, all right then.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is where we're at.
Yeah.
But it's fun. We have 15 years and they did a lot in those 15 years, but you could just I like taking them and putting them in different places,
right,
and seeing how they'd react and who they would be.
Yeah.
And you know, are they still Sam and Dean? And I think this is probably as close to canon as I've ever written anything. Yeah. So yeah, if on the back of this you think I should definitely go and read that, of course, big old trigger warnings, rape / non-con, vomiting.
But you do a good job of like in
suicide.
every section or whatever, anything that could be a possible trigger, you've got those in notes, and so they can definitely a reader can, I mean, you miss a lot if you choose not to. So I think if you're going to start, I think you have to kind of like prepare yourself, and you do a good job of letting people know what's coming up.
I do
and
try.
there's a lot of apologies along the way for all of it, but it's definitely I think it's, I mean, yeah, for people that, you know, I mean, I could say like I've read Wincest. I do like some Wincest on occasion, but this goes beyond that. I just feel like inherently it's just about the boys.
Yeah, it started out as Wincest, and now it's come to like a real, I mean, there isn't sex in denial at all. There isn't sex in control. There's the one blowjob scene in Regret, but it hasn't been about the sex for quite a while now. It's you know, it's two broken people trying to find each other and make it okay again.
So we
but
will
I am
probably
fix it.
and we will be doing an update whenever it's fixed. to discuss.
I'm hoping installment 7 will be the last one, and then
Okay.
I have some timestamps, and I'm
Mhm.
thinking I might do, as I did Dating Sam Winchester in the
Mhm.
English Cottage, where it was
Mhm.
just little bits, little scenes.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
few little bits, little scenes. Like, I want to know what clothes Dean was picking out for Sam when he was in the bunker, because we
Mhm.
only saw Sam in the car. But Dean was rifling through drawers, finding the oldest, the softest, the coziest clothes, t-shirt that they've had for like 20 years that was Dean's and then Sam's and then Dean's again, to keep his brother cozy. I want to see that.
Nice.
I
Yeah.
want to see him in the library picking out the most worn, thumbed through books, because he knows Sam's read them 100
Mhm.
times and they're his favorites.
Mhm.
Cute stuff like that. Nothing sad.
Mhm.
No
Yeah.
angst. But yeah, hopefully the main story will be done in the next one. But we'll see.
Good. Good. Well, I mean, I'm hoping maybe we get to do this again, not even just with like your stuff, but who knows if we're able to even get another writer on, because I know we've done interviews with fanfic authors, but I think it would be nice if we could even like ask someone um to come on just to talk about like a certain particular fiction and really kind of like dive deep into it if there were many feelings or thoughts about that. But
Yes.
yeah, so I mean, we've got options in ways that if you're listening and you want to come onto the podcast to talk about fan fiction or maybe talk about some of your work, we've got links to all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, unless you've got any other thoughts, Karlee, I think we can wrap this
No, we
baby up.
can wrap this one up.
Okay, so if you want to reach out to us, you can email us at idlingintheimpala@gmail.com or reach out to us on Twitter at idlinginthe_D_impala. If you'd like to make your voice a male, check the description for a link to send us a voice message. You can find links to our personal socials and our AO3 accounts in the description. And there's also a link to my author website and original fiction.
We also have a website now. Woo! Website
Woo.
hype. Hype. So go check out Idling in the Impala, all spelled out.com. That is where you will find all our merch. Burst that off. You want a t-shirt that says, "Why are you like this?" We got you, fam. You want a t-shirt that says, "It's finished when I hate it." We've got you as well. Are you going to a con? Like, there are cons coming up. Are you going to a con? If you want a t-shirt that says, "I hug Jared" or "I hug Jensen" in this shirt, we have got you, fam. Get over to idlinginthe_impala.com. There is also YouTube and Spotify stuff on there. There's some about us behind the scenes stuff about Sandra and me. And I'm thinking I might have to put the podcast mascot on there because he appears in so many episodes. And also super secret section of videos that we can't put on YouTube are there as well. So you should go and take a look.
For various reasons.
And get out. Give us some feedback. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, leave us a comment wherever you access your podcasts. We love that, especially if you are listening or watching on YouTube. Likes and comments really help us with the YouTube algorithm. All hail. So you can also check out the current causes in the description that we are championing. If you can, if you want to, if you're able, donate, give a little bit. Everyone is struggling at the moment, but some people are struggling a bit harder than everybody else. And with that, we will say thank you for joining us in the backseat, and we will see you next time, guys. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.